This episode of the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you by Recovery Family Law. Recovery Family Law is here to help you solve your family law problems. If you are going through a separation or divorce, they can provide you the confidence to make good decisions and support to enforce your rights. If you have a question about property, children or support, they have the answers. It's not too late or too early to get help. Email info@recoveryfamilylaw.ca or visit recoveryfamilylaw.ca and let their team get you excellent results.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam territory on the University of beautiful British Columbia. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Zachary Adam Meisenheimer.
Hi, it's me, Harjeet.
Yes, we thought we'd have a threesome tonight because it's been a difficult weekend for you, Har. Your favourite person in the whole world, called Jake, came to BC Place, and you must be conflicted. You watched the Whitecaps win. Jake Nerwinski got a couple of assists. I thought we'd just get in the show to cheer you up a little bit.
It's been some dark few hours, few days, Michael.
Yes.
It's been hard for me.
I know even the police are coming to take you away right now with the signs of it as well. It's like all the ambulance, the men in the straitjackets taking you to the padded cell. It's been that kind of a weekend for poor Har.
For the best.
I'm glad there's a mute button on this. We'll talk a little bit more about Jake as we get through this. We're going to talk Whitecaps against St. Louis in part 1. Some other Whitecap stuff in part 2. Har will then depart to cry some more over Jake. And then Zach and me will talk Copa and Euros. And I've got another fantastic Euros song to bring you in wavelength. This time, it's not about Scotland. But I thought I'd better play this now before this team also get knocked out. Which they possibly could by the time this podcast comes out. Because it's about Belgium. But that's all to come. We'll just start getting into the meat and potatoes of it, which funnily enough, Har is also eating just now, by chatting Whitecaps, St. Louis, a roller coaster of a game, roller coaster of emotions. The Whitecaps were 2 down after 12 minutes. If it had finished that way, they would have finished this weekend in 10th place in the West, outside of the playoff positionings. Vanny's coat would most definitely have been on a sugary peg. It didn't turn out that way, though. Whitecaps, 4 unanswered goals, gave one up late, going for a 5th. That'll come back to bite you sometimes. Got the win, 3 points, actually moved up to 8th in the standings. Just 1 point, though, still above the playoff line. 3 points, though, off 4th in the West, with 2 games in hand. I mean, this was a must-win game for me, especially ahead of a big road trip. So a huge 3 points, potentially, in the grand scheme of things. Just your overall thoughts on this one, Zach, as to how this played out.
I think the way that I would sum it up, Michael, was that it was a convincing result with an unconvincing performance. Uh, like I agree with you. It was a must-win game against a team that they had to beat at home, and they did everything they needed to win, which you are fond of talking about. That's all that really matters. But I think the performance as a whole, there's some issues there. Obviously, defensively, conceding the amount of goals they did, in some cases in the way they did. And then, yeah, they score 4 goals, but like you've already alluded to, they got some help in scoring those 4 goals. They
Yeah.
scored,
Now,
they scored,
usually when you talk about the 12th man at BC Place, you're talking about the fans in the crowd. This time, they had a different 12th man on the pitch.
he was wearing the number 2.
Yes.
Um,
He played like a number 2.
um, and also like, one of the, so I don't think the performance was stand out, and it wasn't really, repeatable, right?
Mm.
Like the one goal, you're never going to see that goal again, right? Like that's not something that's worked on in training or whatever. It's a hugely fortunate goal, beautiful, and will make goal of the year list for sure. But not that's you're not gonna get a lot of goals like that. So I think on the important side, they got the points, they got the job done. I think for Vanny and the coaching staff, there should be concerns about how they're defending, and uh, I think even going forward, just being even more clinical with some of the opportunities that they do create.
Well, I mean, that's what has cost them in recent weeks. And Har, after the game, Vanny said Whitecaps were clearly the better team from minute 1, which I do disagree with. From minute 13, perhaps. He said, we just complicated our life like we did in Portland too. He said, though, that they kept calm, they played their game, they knew that they would create chances. This time, they took them. How do you look at the overall game, the overall performance?
I mean, they did play a game. It was a game of tons of offense. It was a lot of back and forth. It wasn't, defensively and attack them on a counter. It was trading chances with St. Louis. It was, coming in to that second half and just firing and getting Brian White going. So it was kind of a game where they needed to have the floodgates open up and score a lot of goals and boost their confidence and kind of get back to their scoring ways. I thought that would happen in Portland, but obviously it was against St. Louis. So it was a very offensive game. I'm not a fan of the defense. I didn't like the defensive game. I thought the goalkeeping could have been better on some of those short side goals.
Mm.
I would have liked to see Ranko and Tristan or both of them play more or even start, but maybe they've got that Minnesota Montreal game, so maybe they were rested. So I don't think Vanny's found his back three with 3 defenders yet that he feels the most comfortable with. So I think when they do have that sorted, maybe the defense will be performing a little bit better. And as he says, it takes a whole team effort to defend. And you need the strikers and the midfielders coming back. And we're still not seeing that. We're seeing a lot of chances, too many opportunities for the opposition. So I would like to see them clean that up. But offensively, I thought they were clicking, they were generating passes, they're moving the ball forward really well. Ryan Gauld, we didn't have to have the heroics. The fans didn't need to have Gauldy turn up. So offensively, great. Defense, I would need to see more.
Mm. That's an interesting point, Zach, because it's like we've talked about it as to who is the best back 3, and it varies as the season goes on. I do wonder, like, there's a horrendous spell coming up for 5 weeks where it's 2 games a week. And I do wonder if Vanny looked at all those and thought, this St. Louis game, they're in terrible form. This is the easier of the games that's coming up from the 3 and 8 days. Let's go with this back line, rest Blackman, rest Ranko, make sure that they are good to go for what's going to be a really tough one in Minnesota midweek.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I also think like was Bradley Carnell doing that for St. Louis as well a little bit? Because like, how does is something wrong with Tim Parker that I
Yeah,
don't bench? Like,
yeah.
what's going on with him? Oh, Har has an update for us.
He's dealing with a groin strain, groin pull, groin something.
So he's good enough to be a potential sub, but
He was questionable
he was
to make the
questionable.
trip and travel. He was on the bench. I was kind of told that don't expect to see him, so
right, okay.
maybe they were filling in numbers. But yeah, Timmy
It's
was not.
weird to bring him
Yeah.
all this way, though.
Yeah.
Like, unless he had,
Maybe they were hoping he could play.
yeah, I mean, maybe he had a slim chance to go. But I mean, they were down to some bare bones.
Why not bring a youth player then, right? Like,
Well, yeah, because there are two teams got a lot of good talent in
and
it.
they're two teams in town.
They called up a few players, so they did call up quite a few call ups, and the St. Louis 2 team played tonight in Burnaby. So they did have a huge squad. So
Right.
Tim Parker on the bench, maybe they thought there was a chance he could play, but yeah, no Tim.
Well, it makes
Now-
sense of why Nerwinski was starting. Though.
Yeah, like I know we've had a little bit of fun at Jake's expense there, just because Harry's on, but he's had a tough season. He like last year, like when he went to St. Louis, I actually thought he started off really well there. Had a few ups and downs, but a lot of defenders are going to have that over the course of the season. But he seemed to really fit in to the role that St. Louis wanted him to play, and he seemed to be thriving in a back three. And then I don't know what's happened this year. He started off the season in the team, really had a tough time with it and a couple of bad performances, then wasn't even in the game day squads, then starting this game. And I don't know whether their coach thought, well, he's familiar with BC Place, he's familiar with the turf. You know that, like Vanny's spoken about this, players often get a bit of a boost when it's playing against their former teams, and sometimes you do that. But this was definitely like a game to forget for him, and we'll come to some of that in a sec. I think we can break the game down into the good, the bad, and the ugly, but not in that order. It's kind of like the ugly, the good, and the bad. So if we start with the ugly, which is the first 2 goals. So at 7 minutes in, Blom, 20-yard shot, deflects off Levante Johnson, which at the game, I did not know it had deflected off a Whitecaps player. It was only when I got home and I watched it back, I was like, oh, that explains quite a lot as to how that goal played out. Because Vanny had said it was 85% luck, and I was thinking, that's a bit unfair to the guy that had a good shot. But then you watch it, and that shot's going wide. So, I mean, technically, that could go down as a Levante own goal because that shot was not on target.
I haven't seen that angle, but if that's the case,
Yeah, when you see the angle from
yeah,
behind the player.
It's going to the left there. Yeah, okay. I just put it on right now just to re-see that. But yeah, you're right. That would be an own goal then for Levante.
Now, I know it took the deflection because initially I was putting all the blame on Takaoka because I was like, Yohei should not get beaten at his near post like that. And he is very susceptible at his near post, as we've seen a couple of times, and we saw a couple of times in this game. I guess he was wrong-footed following the ball, but again, I think he had enough time to get back to get to it because it just eludes him. And of course, folk will say if there was a bigger keeper, he would have had a bigger stretch, but it doesn't always work that way. I just thought he looked bad on that goal, Har.
Yeah, I think he should have had, even though it was deflected, I think he could have kind of stretched or he could have saved it. Obviously, it was tough to go down 2-0, and I think maybe the first goal and the last goal, Yohei maybe could have done a bit better. But again, defense, the Utvik shot the ball. It goes off of Durkin's back and it goes right to Blom. So again, we're going to blame Yohei for not getting out there. But what is the defense doing to not clear the ball away, not defend better?
Yeah, a lot of blame on that because they just didn't clear their lines. And then, of course, Zach, we had the video review.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I didn't even notice it live.
No, neither did I.
And then, because we were all in the press box going, what is that for? And then you see it and it's like, oh, it's the push on Berhalter.
Yeah.
And then I saw some of the replays in the stadium and I was like, oh yeah, that's not going to stand. That's not going to get given as a foul. It's going to stand as a goal. But I watched it back today and I think there is a case to be made that Berhalter could have then got up and been where that shot would have come in to block it. So I guess the argument from the officials could have been that didn't constitute interfering with the goal, but the announcement was there wasn't a foul there, not that it didn't interfere with the goal. So that we should probably have asked with a little thing we can do after the game of the officials, but I think because we won, nobody really cared about that. But it is an interesting one
I,
because I've gone back and forth as to whether I think that should have stood or not.
I think though, Michael, and I thought this at the time, right, when I was texting you about it. I think that the referee said, look, there's not enough there for it to be a foul. And then in terms of your other point, I think there's enough time for him to stand up and make a play or not make a play. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like,
Wait, he does get up, and I didn't actually track where he ended up, but mm,
yeah,
it's an interesting one. The second one though, the brown handball, saw it live and it was hard to tell. You saw the replay and you're like, yeah, that's going to get given as a penalty.
yeah.
And I still thought that until I watched the Mexico game tonight. And it was a very similar chest onto arm in the Mexico game, not given. Well, given, but then overturned by VAR as no penalty.
Okay, okay. We need to say though, remember, Michael, that Copa America is a different type of football to every other football. I mean,
Yes.
this is a tournament where you can headbutt people, and the rest of
Yes.
and some American commentators will say the contact was negligible.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
he
like,
didn't put the head in
yeah,
that much.
forgetting the laws of the game completely. But yeah,
I
I
still
mean,
think it was a penalty though.
I think it was. I think it's a committal. I mean, if it doesn't make, here's the thing: if it doesn't make contact with Brown's hand, it's in the back of the net, is it not?
Mm,
Takaoka's. There's no way he's getting to that ball,
yeah, because I
and
think
and
he was
Laporta
wrong-footed
sliding in.
again. Yeah.
Laporta sliding in is it was not even close. Like, I think that's partly why. Or I haven't seen the Mexico one yet, even though I have the game on. I think that game's on my PVR. Um, that hand literally is stopping that ball from going into the net. So that's always going to be given.
Yeah.
Ask Joe,
It,
ask
it,
Joe, ask Joe Deasy in his Ireland. That's
it's
always
just one
going to
of
be given
those
now.
things, though. It's like hits here first. And like Javade was adamant it hit him here. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter too much. Lowen tucked it away nicely. Vanny said we gave them the second goal, so he wasn't complaining too much about it. But then after that, like it was all Whitecaps. And I don't know whether it was just the Whitecaps playing pressure or whether St. Louis were like, we've got a 2 goal lead here. Let's not go too gung ho and sit back. But St. Louis fell out of the game as any kind of attacking threat. They just were gone after that point. And well, apart from one chance, which I'll come to in a sec, but then the Whitecaps had a great opportunity to pull one back. Levante Johnson played in, Ryan Gold, touch inside. Now, a great save by Lunt. Got to say that was a fantastic save. But Levante has got to bury that anywhere except straight ahead. And I don't think the keeper was getting to that. And that's the difference between Levante making it in this league, I feel, and not. As good as he is, as flashes that we've seen, those are the kind of chances, he just has to take if he wants to be an MLS regular.
He reminds me of some guys back in the day, Eric Hurtado, Kakuta Mane, where they had tons of pace, could really get behind the defense, but they maybe didn't have the finish or they needed a lot of opportunities to score. So I think Levante has a lot of potential and he needs to maybe finish the chances or maybe get more hungry or focus more on maybe shooting or just going in on himself and just getting that opportunity. He's sporting a lovely number 28, so that's going good for him. But yeah, Levante's been a bright spot. He's doing really well, and glad to see him get the start too. A bit of a surprise.
Yeah. I mean, my big disappointment in this game was Nicolas Florio-Chateau didn't get on. I was so excited when he got the call up after we chatted to him a couple of shows ago, and I've been singing his praises for weeks now from
You
his
were very
performances.
excited,
Yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic game to be at and a great comeback. It could have been also different though, because St. Louis had a good chance to make it 3-0. And this time, Takaoka came up with a point blank save at his near post. And I think that was the game changing moment. If it had gone to 3, I don't think we were coming back.
Yeah, some might call that the TSN turning point.
I would call it the AFTN moment of the match.
Yeah, that's better. I like that better.
But then, 37th minute, Whitecaps get one back. Long ball forward. I think it was Berhalter that played it forward. White got onto it, gets the shot off. Jake Nerwinski gets the block in, hits his leg, loops over the keeper into the goal. It's 2-1. Brian White broke his 9-game goalless drought. And you're thinking, yes, finally, streaky Brian is going to be back. Didn't think he was going to be as streaky as he was, but I mean, it was great, Zach, that he's finally back scoring.
New Jersey's dynamic duo.
Oh, linking up as
Together
always.
together again, just helping each other out.
And
Come on, guys, I'm
that
right
was
here.
that was Jake's 7th assist as a Whitecap in his career, his first since 2018,
I disagree.
which is incredible.
It was a unfortunate deflection. I thought it went off of the goalkeeper's foot and went the
I
other
know
way. I
Hard
couldn't
didn't think
see.
it
I
had
was
come
so
off
far
Jake.
away.
And
And
then
then
when she
people
saw
were-
the replay, it's just like, no.
People were clowning me in the press box. I did not enjoy that. I thought, oh, this is a train wreck. This is not good.
Michael and I were
Then it got worse.
Michael and I were wondering if it would be given as an own goal to Jake just for fun.
Mhm.
Uh,
I would have. But
I did predict that Brian would have a multi-goal game, and
You
I
did?
did predict that Jake and Tim would score. So I wasn't
Mhm.
too wrong.
I predicted in our WhatsApp group that Jake would have an own goal. So I was technically right.
Uh,
But I just did that to wind up Har.
yeah, you guys did a lot of that.
Yeah. But it was 2-1 going into the half, much different halftime team talk.
Mhm.
And the Whitecaps came out in the second half. Vanny said he didn't have to say much to them because they knew what they had to do. They knew the mess that they got themselves into. Like they dug themselves a hole, and fair credit to them, they got themselves out of it because that second half performance was probably, for me, the best second half of the season. Maybe that's just right recency bias on my part. I don't know. There's probably been other ones that we've said that about, but they did exactly what they needed to do. And they had a couple of chances in the early going. They just didn't come off. There were some goal mouth scrambles. And then whether it was meant, it wasn't. Whether it was luck, it was. Probably going to be the AFTN goal of the season. It's battling it out with Levante Johnson in the Canadian Championship with the banger that he got there. But Brian
What
White,
about the one Brian Gold scored in New England?
that was goalkeeper calamity for me because the goalkeeper should have stopped that. I know
That was a great shot from
it was a
Brian.
great shot, but I mean, you're expecting the keeper to do better there. But a little scorpion flick, if we want to call it that. Or to quote Brian, I've got it here, definitely a bit of luck. I was trying to bring the ball with me. Fortunately, it hit off my heel and went over him, the goalkeeper. Take what we can get, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just need to look at his face in the celebration. First off,
Oh, beautiful
where
celebration.
his arms are
Yeah.
like, and then when his teammates come in and he's facing the camera, you can see his facial expression that it was not what he was trying to do in terms of flicking it to put it in the back of the net. He was literally, as he said, trying to bring it forward so that he could then smash it in or go around the keeper or whatever. But it is when it first happened, I was just like, wait, who deflected? Like how? I was like, how did that go in? I thought it hit the defender or
deflection.
something.
Yeah.
And I was like, it wasn't until I saw the replay and I was like, oh wow,
Well,
that's special.
have you heard of the American podcast, The Cooligans?
Yes.
Based out in New York, yeah. So they had said, oh, Puskis nominee here. And they got so much abuse of, don't take Puskis's name in vain. And it's like, this is clearly not meant. It's pure luck. And then someone left a brilliant comment saying, I didn't know what team had actually got that goal until I saw the guy go away and celebrate.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I'm
again-
glad I haven't read those comments.
But again, another great assist from Jake Nerwinski.
Oh, beautiful diving header to set that up.
It was a lucky bounce. It was not an assist.
Oh, that's an
No.
assist. That's an assist.
That's yes. Now let's talk a little bit about Jake here because
was-
Hard just
it
wants
was-
to
It was the
clear
other
something
player
up.
that it bounced off of Thomas.
Yeah.
as
Well, yeah, because it came at him like a bullet. from the head of Jake.
Well,
That's
it
hard to
was.
control
And
that.
then,
Well,
and then
Brian's running right there, and then he's trying to move the ball out of
Yeah.
danger.
No,
So
there
it was
was a bit of
unfortunate
miscontrol.
play, and it was not an assist.
didn't Jake also from his diving effort on the play, didn't he remain on the pitch for a while after that?
Yeah, he
I
hurt
do
his
not
hamstring
recall.
potentially, but like,
He had a goal line clearance. Why don't you bring that up?
oh, I forgot about that. Somehow that didn't make my notes, but
When
yeah,
you
that was an actual very important block from him.
but when you lose 4-3 and you've set up two of the goals, a goal
Yeah,
line clearance doesn't really matter as much. Am I
but
wrong? Am I
yeah,
wrong?
no, Javane had the header that crashed off the bar. Whitecaps kept the pressure on, and then Jake, right place, right time, goal line clearance. Well done. I'll give him full credit for that.
Good.
Since we're talking about Jake, we want to kind of, or Har wants to clear something up. So we're ragging on Jake a little bit because Har's on the show. Now, Har has been a very big supporter of Jake for years, from his time at the Whitecaps. Always spoke to him, always on his side, always had his back. When he moved to St. Louis, exactly the same. And I think it's safe to say when the schedule came out, Har, you'd circled this date as an exciting one because you like speaking to Jake and you like speaking to Tim.
Yeah, it was a game I was really looking forward to talking to Tim and talking to Jake post game. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It was a tough game for St. Louis. A couple of deflections that went off of Jake, and Brian was able to capitalize. So you can understand the players aren't in the best of moods. So unfortunate that they're not available. And yeah, Jake and Tim are two of my favorites. You know, I was there when Jake got drafted in Los Angeles. So covering him before he even got to Vancouver. So yeah, he's always made time. He's always been willing to talk, you know, whether it be about politics, the Raiders, food, Whitecaps, soccer, anything, you know, he's always down. So yeah, that's why he's one of my favorites. He's a stand-up guy. He's great in the community, great team, great person. So yeah, him and Tim, it would have been nice to catch up. And so quite disappointed, quite upset that, you know, they were unable to come by for a few minutes. I know JJ had requested Jake as well. He wanted to talk to him. We waited 40 minutes. So when you're told, you know, the player's going to come over, waiter, you know, they're going to come over and they don't, you know, you're pretty upset. It's a game I was looking forward to. And, you know, we don't know what team Jake's going to be on or what schedule is going to be next year.
I know, because I mean, you don't cover the USL.
I know it's been a tough season for him. He's not had, you know, consistent minutes. And I asked Bradley Carnell about his season and, you know, how that's gone for him and how he's been behind the scenes. Got a great answer. So yeah, a big fan favorite of Jake Nowinski and Tim Parker. And so I'm always going to support guys that are stand-up guys, great guys, and guys that have always been good to me. And I will continue to do that. So yeah, maybe next time when they come through, they'll have maybe more time or they'll be more available and it won't be a game like we saw last night. So that's what I have to say about that.
And I just want to quickly say that before you jump in. Obviously some of us media had a little bit poked a bit of fun at Jake because of the performance. It's like we do it for everyone. And I don't know if he'll see that down the line or whatever, and I'm sure he won't be happy with anything that he sees, but I hope he can realize that it's in good fun, and it's like just you're joking about a player that gave you a lot when he was here, and it's like we do it with everyone. We do it with our own players as well. We make fun of them. So yeah, hopefully next time the result hopefully will be the same, but they'll be in a better mood to talk after.
Well, that's all. That's all I was going to say is I know that one thing I know is that players, doesn't matter who they are or what's going on in life, they really hate talking when they don't win.
Yeah.
That's
why I hate the post game stuff, because even when they win, you don't really get proper analysis because they're just off the pitch.
Yeah.
Cause it's like sometimes we've been in it and I've said to them, look, I know you've not had time to process this.
Yeah.
But I have to ask this question because that's the circus that we do.
It's what just happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you're joking, Michael, but yeah, I will say again that as you said, Jake's out of contract.
I think
There's
he's
a
out of
St. Louis has
contract.
an option.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be shocked.
it's not looking likely.
I'd be shocked if Lutz extended that option.
Yeah.
Just
I
to say
shared the
they
elevator
lost
with Lutz yesterday.
they lost 3-0, I believe, last year when they came up here, and they both came over, Tim and Jake, and talked to me last year. They were great. They were
Mm.
fantastic. So
But
maybe just the circumstances
Oh,
surrounding the
actually, yeah,
season.
I think we ran the audio on the show. I think you
how many
sent it to us.
how many assists did Jake have that night?
I don't recall.
Okay.
And he
But
won't be in the USL. I heard that, Michael.
no, he won't be in the US national team, I think is what you're thinking. So it's tied at 2-2. And at this point, basically, for me, it was the Whitecaps were going to go on and win it. I had no doubt in my mind at all that the
Yeah.
Whitecaps were going to win. And good old streaky Brian, he likes to break goalless droughts in style because he hit his second career Whitecaps hat trick, his first since against San Jose in 2021. He tied the record for all-time goals in MLS by a Whitecap with he who shall not be named. Got his hat trick in the 61st minute, but as spectacular as the second goal looked, that was luck. This third goal, his hat trick goal, this was a pinpoint cross from Ryan Raposo. Beautiful cross, but Brian rose above everyone, headed home. It was a beautiful goal, Zach, and that delivery from Raposo, mwah.
It was much more the type of goal you expect from Brian White, and that he's kind of more consistently scored for the Whitecaps as opposed to like the second. And yeah, like I agree with you. Kudos to Raposo for the quality service. That's I think him at his best in that wide position.
I thought he had a good game yesterday.
Yeah, I think he was one of the better caps going forward for sure.
So at that point, I thought it was guaranteed. It was just a case of how many. But Vanny felt from like minute 13 to 75, they were excellent. But cramps kind of started to come in. The heat and the humidity, it was a weird, like I even took my jacket off in the stadium, was in short sleeves. That never happens. It was a weird, humid atmosphere at BC Place last night. So the players started to tire. And whilst it's a 3-2 game, there's always the chance that St. Louis can just go up and sneak one, as unlikely as it felt because they weren't really creating anything. But then Fafa Picault sealed the deal. 90th minute, beautiful cutback from Luis Martins. Good through ball as well by Ralph Priso as well, who I've got to say hasn't impressed me so far at his time as a Whitecap. I liked what I saw from him in the little bit, the cameo that he had here. Good ball to Martins. Nice cutback by him. And Fafa, it was a horrible first touch, but that actually worked in his favour because it gave him then space to get the shot in. I think if he'd hit it first time, it wouldn't have gone in the back of the net, but that first touch, the miscontrol, allowed him the space to get it, turn, fired it home. Will it be his last goal as a Whitecap? We'll talk about Fafa and the potential move in the next part.
That was my text to you, right?
Yeah.
I said, parting gifts are nice.
But we'll talk about that in the next part. Maybe he'll be
It was
here,
a bit of
maybe he
a
won't.
boomerang shot.
Oh. If anyone doesn't know what that is, Fafa has become a recording artist and he's released a song called Boomerang.
Yes.
Yes.
I do want to agree with you, Michael, that in terms of the build up to the goal, it was nice to see Priso contribute in that way, because I know his time in Vancouver has not gone well. It's been widely, the move to bring him here has been widely seen as a failure. And
it was an odd one for me just to begin with, because I was like, he's not a guy that even stood out for me.
I still think it's on. Still on.
I know, but it's all that. Having said all that, it was nice to see him actually contribute something positive, and whether or not his time here will be short lived. If you're the Whitecaps, obviously you need all the help you can get going forward, and the better he does it, also if you want to move on, it maybe makes it easier to do so.
Fun fact: He had an assist on Ryan Gall's second goal in New England. You come on, 30 seconds later, assist.
That I didn't really register because it was just like, oh, what a shot from Ryan. But this was a win that was achieved, as we touched on last week's show, with arguably the four best midfielders out for various reasons. Injury. Sam, Vanny said the post-game presser, he hopes that he could be back training this week or next week. But yeah, it was good to see that 4-2. You're thinking, there we go. But the Whitecaps wanted more. They wanted a fifth. They wanted me to tweet, what time is it? 5 past
I did not
Nowinski.
want you to tweet that.
5 past Nowinski.
But they went a bit gung ho, and Vanny said, "Oh, they just lost their thing. They were so committed forward. They left themselves short at the back." Thoresen
Again.
made it interesting, but again, Takaoka beating at his near post. It's a few times now this year. It's a concern for me.
Yeah, but it's being at the near post at a run at the near post. So it's a little bit, it's not like a shot from distance or at the near post. You know what I mean? It was a little bit, I don't negate your concern at him being beat at near post. I just don't think this is a sample that goes in that filter.
Yeah. So 4-3 final. Vanny said, with the way the game went, it could be a nice turning point to remind us that if we do the things that we're supposed to do, we can overcome every difficulty. Let's hope so. As you said, Zach, it was a good result. It maybe wasn't a great overall performance, but there was a lot of positives to take from it. And I think the way that they didn't put their heads down, the way that they fought back, this is a team, we've spoken about it earlier this year, like when they go behind, you feel that they can come back. Although it was the first time this season that they actually came from behind to get the win.
I think that feeling is based on what Vanny has done in his time. Which is, I don't know the stats on it, but there's been a lot of times where they come back to get a result, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, after those first 12 minutes, I was just like, I thought, oh wow, they've dug a really big hole that I did not expect them to get out of until they got that 37th minute first tally.
A big crowd again, just shy of 25,000. I've got to say, it didn't look that, but it was a good atmosphere, great atmosphere post game. When you see the videos again of the fans in the concourse celebrating, I mean, that was good.
The suites didn't seem that busy, I thought.
Yeah, well, I drove in because I didn't leave my house till after the Canada game, so I didn't leave the house until just after 7, and I was in the stadium by 20 past. There was like no traffic at all.
No, it wasn't busy.
Even walking over the Canby Bridge, there was not the usual queue of traffic, and I was like, oh, that doesn't bode well. But I mean, a good turnout, and as we texted back and forth after it, Zach, as well, important to put in a performance like that in front of a big crowd, because they're going to go home thinking that was fantastic.
Yeah, when they had those, that 4-match pack, and they were getting those crazy numbers of whatever 50,000 or whatever, or 30,000+ or whatever it was. This was the kind of game they needed in one of those games. I think they still have one more of those games, but it was the kind of game where, again, even though the performance has holes, the result is good. You have a spectacular, kind of unrepeatable kind of goal that everyone will be talking about who is there, or who sees in the highlights or whatever. You had, it wasn't like all the goals were in one half. You had like this, it was just a special night at BC Place. And yeah, I heard from some friends who were there who just said it was a really, really fun night in the stands.
I mean, right now it's up there as our game of the year in my awards. It's my vote.
I think it has.
Har's shaking her head at that.
What's your game of the year, Har?
Thought it was an okay game. It was a very emotional roller coaster.
But what would be your game of the year?
What would be a better game of the year?
I liked the Miami game because the fans were really into it.
Wait,
that's a weird one.
How is that?
Folk felt the atmosphere at the Miami game was electric, and I just did not get that.
A game where they won the game, or a game in just a game?
I guess it's what you're looking for because, like, you could have a very enjoyable game and you lose 5-4, but it's like a
I like the
tremendous game
Portland
with great
game as well.
goals.
Portland game was good.
Yeah, that was a good one. The home one,
Yeah.
obviously, and
That
not the one that I was at last week.
yeah, no, that's a good example. Yeah, that's a that would be up there for sure. Maybe number
Yeah.
I
two.
like the New England game because I went to that
Yeah.
game.
Actually,
The
let's talk about that because I know we'd initially were going to get you on the show to chat about that, but then we got Felipe on instead
are
to talk about Copa.
you talking about the 3-2 away loss?
Yeah, but Har went to that. I've not been to a game out east. I've been to Seattle, to Portland, Chivas, RSL.
That was really interesting. It was definitely like it's a good experience to see how the team travels, what kind of setup they have. So they changed their travel this year. So they flew right away Friday morning and landed in New England, Boston about 6. Then took the private bus down to Foxborough because it's about 45 minutes. Yeah, they had their team dinner right away. So they had their team dinner. They don't want to like stay away from the routine. They want to go on Pacific time. So and then the Whitecaps, they went and had a gym session right away. So about 8:39 because they wanted to get their legs going.
At
And
night.
yeah, 9
Mhm.
p.m.
Oh,
8:30, 9
jeez.
p.m.
Yeah.
They wanted to get rid of those legs that were sitting on the plane for 5, 6
Oh,
hours,
yeah.
get moving again.
Was that at the
And
hotel?
yeah, the gym and the hotel.
It's like us, Zach, when we finished the podcast, 6 hour
Yeah.
Yeah.
recordings.
I get
We
on
hit the
the
gym.
I
Yeah.
get on the bike, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how close to Foxborough? Were they in like Boston proper, or was their hotel
No,
closer to
no,
Foxborough?
it's Foxborough. Like you can
Oh, they
see
were
the
in Foxborough. Okay.
stadium from
Oh,
where
okay.
the
Oh,
like
wow.
hotels are,
Okay. So they're not
and all
in
the
the city
shops.
and all that stuff. Okay,
No,
cool.
they're 45 minutes from
Yeah.
downtown Boston.
Because yeah, Foxborough is that's one of the critiques
Far.
of it as a soccer stadium is that it's very far from the city. And obviously
Mm.
for the pigskin for the American football, they don't mind that. They're used to that culture and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like RSL's as well because it's in Sandy. It's not actually in Salt Lake City. And it's like a
No,
40-minute train journey or something to get out there. And it's like the middle of nowhere when you get off the train as well. And you're like, then a stadium appears in the
Yeah.
desert.
But when you're looking for a place to build, you got to go where there's land, I guess, right?
Yeah.
and then they had to get their bus back to Boston, and there was a bit of a not a snafu, but they only had limited amount of time to get up there and to get on the charter plane because you have a certain amount of time for airspace for when you can take off and land. So they had to hightail it out of there about
Oh, gee.
10:30 Eastern to get back up to Boston. And then when they did get on the plane, they sat for about 20 minutes before they even left. I think they got back to Vancouver 3, 4 a.m., maybe later, Pacific time. Yeah, it was quite late. Yeah,
You
so
don't
yeah.
you don't really appreciate
No, they were
I
tired. You
think
could
like how
see how
long the
tired they
days
were.
are. Like you think,
Yeah.
oh, they've got charter flights, it's great. They're back. They don't have to hang about. But that's a hellish time to get
Yeah,
back.
that's another thing I want to do is a story on the charter flights because when you think charter, they're not getting the Rolls Royce of charters.
Mm.
So that's something to think about as well. They're not getting the top level planes here.
But like talking about like road trips and stuff, there's now a grueling road trip coming up.
Mhm.
I worked out how far it was, like to fly from Vancouver to Montreal, Minnesota, St. Louis, etc., etc. So, not including the trip to the island, you're looking at just shy of 6,500 air miles for the travel that they're going to be doing, and that is wow. It's like really grueling. So Minnesota's next up. They're going to have fresh legs in Shopf, Ranko, Blackman. Minnesota is on a little bit of a downward run at the moment. So they've dropped down to seventh in the standings. They lost 3-2 at Portland at the weekend. That's the only game I've really had a chance to watch the highlights for so far. They were leading 2-0, and then they gave that up, went down to a 3-2 defeat. Portland thought they had the winning goal just before the 90 minutes was up, but it was ruled out for a handball in the build up. Then a few minutes later in stoppage time, they got the winner. So that was, I think, 8 games unbeaten now for Portland. But for Minnesota, 4 straight losses. They're winless in 5. Now, 3 of those losses have come on the road, so take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt. At home, they've won 4, they've drawn 4, and they've lost 2. Whitecaps have won 4, drawn 2, and lost 4. So their away form's kind of dipped a little bit. But this is an interesting game. I think Whitecaps are going there at a good time. And this is a very tough game spell in league play just alone, because you're looking at Minnesota Wednesday, Montreal Saturday, then you fly back to play Pacific, then you fly back out to play St. Louis in the league action. It's a grueling time, Zach, but that win on Saturday will buoy them a little bit. And it does feel that this is maybe the time that Minnesota is a little bit ripe for the plucking.
Yeah, it totally does. I didn't realize their form was that bad. Like I usually they're one of the highlights that I look out for just
Well,
to
they were
watch.
doing better before they appointed their new coach.
Yeah, yes, yeah. That's disappointing for them, I'm sure. But it does sound like the Whitecaps are getting them at kind of just the right time, and for Whitecaps fans, yeah, hopefully they can take advantage of that because, like you were saying earlier, Michael, they need to get every point they can so that they can keep within that top 9 or ideally that top 7.
I was looking at like who their key performers have been. So they're missing their top scorer,
Yeah,
Tammy. It's Tammy time for Canada.
yeah,
Ah, so close to getting his first goal. We'll talk about that in the
yeah.
next
He
couple
was.
of parts. 7 goals and 4 assists he's got so far this year. So they're missing that. They've 4 players away at Copa right now. So with Canada, they're missing Dane St. Clair and Tani Oluwasai. Panama, Carlos Harvey, and Costa Rica, Alejandro Bran. So they're not probably going to get those Costa Rican and Panama guys back for Wednesday. I guess they might, but they're missing 4 players. You're looking at who else is performing, and Robin Lode, the Finn just now is in tremendous form. 5 goals and 11 assists he's got. So he's the guy for them to watch. And I definitely think they're getting them at the right time. But then they've got a tough trip to Montreal as well, who they've been up and down, but at home, they've only lost twice. One of those was to Miami, and they've got 3 wins and 4 draws in that record as well. So it's tough. There's going to be rotation, but I think they can go into it with a bit more confidence than they were probably feeling about a
Lot
week
Lot
ago after that Portland game.
Lot has a lot of quivers in his arrow, right?
Mm.
Is he the guy who celebrates with
I think he might be.
the bow and arrow? Yeah,
He's
no,
he's a good player.
quality. Yeah.
But if they can negate him in the game, then I think they've got a good chance. I think he will make or break how well they end up doing. He didn't get any assists on their 2 goals at the weekend. Longwane, who's got 5 goals and 4 assists, got a goal and an assist against Portland. So he is probably the other guy that they have to watch for. But watching that game against Portland, they seemed very susceptible at the back, but they do look very dangerous in attack. So it could be a high scoring game. I'm not saying it's another
Yeah.
4-3. The big question, will the Whitecaps get Andres Kubis back? Now, the
Yeah.
thing with Kubis is Paraguay are officially can't get into the knockout stage, but they do have a game to go. But Kubis is missing that because he got sent off. So I asked Fanny what the chances were of getting him back for Wednesday. So it's all in the hands of Paraguay. If they want to release him, they can. They might want to keep him for training. But also, Vanny wasn't 100% sure what FIFA rules were around that. But by the time of the Whitecaps game, Paraguay are finished in the tournament. So if they did want to release him a couple of days early, they could certainly do that. And he did say the Whitecaps are exploring any possibility that that might happen. But that would be huge, Har, if they can get Kubas back for Minnesota.
I think a lot of things are going to have to go right in order for that to happen. And then again, we mentioned travel a little bit earlier. So then you have the travel, the fitness, practicing with his teammates. Obviously, he knows them. I would say Montreal would be more realistic. Maybe get a practice in there. Obviously, that's more travel as well. But Yeah, it would be great to get him back from Minnesota, but I would look at Montreal as
Yeah,
a
Vanny
better.
said he'll definitely be back from Montreal, and he made a plea to the camera to anyone watching from CONMEBOL, please, Paraguay, let him go, let him go. So he was in
Yeah,
good
because they
form
care
last,
about the Whitecaps, I'm sure.
of course. But it was a good weekend for the Whitecaps. Their twos beat St. Louis 2-3-1 this afternoon. A match I was planning to go to, except I thought it was a 6 o'clock kickoff. At 5:30, just before I was set to leave, I thought, oh, let me see what the team is. And I saw that it was in the 75th minute. So it was a 4 o'clock kickoff. So I watched the end of it. I saw the two goals that put them back ahead. So they're playing really well just now. But yeah, good weekend for the Whitecaps. We're going to have some more Whitecaps chat in the next part, some off the field stuff we're going to be talking about. And we'll be back with that after we bring you the first song from our new album of the month.
Hi, I'm Brian White, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership by recoveryfamilylaw.ca. Based out of Surrey, check them out for all your family legal needs. And kicking off this part, it's the first song from our new album of the month here at AFTN for July from Cork, Ireland. It's a different kind of album that we usually do. I usually shy away, obviously, from best-ofs or compilations, but this is a more unique compilation. It's by a band called the Franken Walters, and it is their self-titled debut release, holding it up to the camera just now for everyone to see. And it's a 10-track compilation of their first 3 EPs. And there's 2 versions of it. The original one was just from their first 2 EPs, and then it got re-released in 1992, featuring all 3. That is the one I'll be bringing you songs from this month. And I'm kicking it off with one of my favourites from the band called Happy Busman. And there was a lot of happy people not on the bus, getting in the cars, going home, however they went home from BC Place on Saturday. And we'll have some more Whitecaps chat in this part. It came out on Thursday afternoon, conveniently after our chats with Vanny and Axel. Tom Bogart, who does get a lot of stuff leaked to him. And when I read this, I was like, this seems very odd. And it kind of smacked off the kind of story that an agent wants to put out there to drum up a little bit of interest in their client. And I'm talking here about Fafa Picault. So Fafa only came to the Whitecaps at the start of the year. When we chatted with him at the start of the year, he was so enthusiastic about being here, excited about the prospect and what the team could be and what he could bring to this team and playing more regularly. He's 33-year-old now. He's played in 17 MLS matches, starting 9 of them. He's got 4 goals, 2 assists. And I don't know how if it's more he feels he should be getting a bit more playing time and he's a bit upset that he's not. Is it him that's wanting the move? Is it an agent that's trying to drum up interest in his client to either have the Whitecaps play him more or to drum up interest from somewhere else in the league of, oh, you know what? He could be available. He could do the business for us.
Yeah, I spoke to Axel post game at the game on Saturday. I did not have a chance to talk to Fafa. I'm hoping to do that this week to see what his perspective is. But yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. And it's, an agent that's trying to maybe drum up some interest, to drum up some activity. Fafa Picault has not asked to be traded. He has not asked to be moved. He obviously wants more playing time. He wants to be out there more. And so we're seeing, Vanny and Axel and them saying, well, work hard in training, show us that, you're earning it, that you're going to be getting more minutes. And we saw him step up. He's been great in training.
Mm-hmm.
I was told he had that goal. And so maybe that generates more interest. As I was told, the window is not open till July 18th.
Yes, he can't go anywhere anyway.
They've not had a club come and ask them about Fafa. They've not had any offers or approaches regarding moving Fafa. So it's pretty much, maybe an agent trying to drum up interest and say, if my client's not getting the playing time he wants or he would like to see in this market, maybe another team can acquire him. So yeah, we'll see what happens when the window opens. I don't know what kind of trade you're going to get, knowing that a player would maybe prefer to be elsewhere. So I don't know what return you'll get.
Tom's tweet said he wanted to be
closer
to the East Coast.
Yeah.
And that's something that annoys me, not just with Fafa, but in general. It's like, you know what you're signing up to. It's not like we're some weird outpost here in Vancouver. We're one of the best places in the world. You see all the most livable cities, and it's like Vancouver's regularly featured in the top 3. So it's not that we're some weird back post. So I'd never buy that as a reason. If you've got family that haven't made the move, like I understood with Julian Gressel, because his family's out east, he's used to more of that. That was something different. But this seemed a weird one. And the thing is as well, Zach, players need to understand you'll get more playing time and more starts if you're performing. So the way to earn more playing time is to perform. That said, I do think Fafa has deserved some better starts or some more starts than he's had. Vanny seems to have been a bit critical of him in some of the post-game stuff.
Yeah, his defense. He's been called out twice.
What was the game recently that he said, the first half he didn't seem to understand?
Miami. Was it Portland, Miami?
What he was doing, but then the second half he seemed to be doing better. But I don't know that he does want a way. And the way for him to get more playing time, Zach, is go out, score like he did on the weekend.
Yeah, there's some layers to this, obviously, and the thing that stands out to me is Tom Bogart's not someone who puts information out there lightly, right? Like, I mean, maybe you can think of Hart saying maybe not so much, but he's someone I don't take as someone who puts stuff out there lightly, and so I think that the information that's been given to him, whoever's done that, has done that very intentionally and for very specific reasons. Will we ever get to know those? Maybe, maybe not. Is it true on face value? Maybe, maybe not. I think if you're a Vancouver Whitecaps fan, you've heard this before in different ways, and you can sense the frustration. I've heard some frustration from some people, and I've heard the disappointment of some people. I've heard some other people who've been like, "Oh, you know what? He hasn't quite he has the skills and abilities, but he hasn't performed to the level I thought or we thought he would." And so, yeah, if he goes, as long as they replace him, I can live with that. So I think that hopefully it's not what you're saying, Michael. I hope it's not just an agent who's just trying to mix things up or demand whatever, more playing time or money or better contract or whatever, because that would just be really frustrating and really annoying for not only the fan base, but for Axel and for Vanny, and it just makes their jobs more difficult. And that's just not fun because they have a million other things to worry about. And so, and also I think that even though maybe you could say he has at least marginally underperformed, I still think he is very helpful for the Whitecaps. He offers them something that they really are not, they're lacking in terms of definitive and game-changing pace, and he brings some of that. Levante obviously has pace, but it hasn't been game-changing.
Yeah, he hasn't got the output at the end of it. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it would be a horrible thing to part in the middle of this season. And like you, Michael, I know your thoughts on this are like, yeah, when you come here, you should stay here for at least a year of your contract. But I do agree with you guys that Vancouver does need also they do need to add. And if they lose a Fafa, they need to add even more.
Yeah, I mean, Vanny, paraphrasing a little bit, when he was asked about this post-game, said he wants players that want to be here. He's had a chat with Fafa about the situation. And I guess we'll see where this goes, but until it's not just as simple as a player wanting away, because the Whitecaps have to get a decent return for him, either a player, money, whatever. Because for me, he's been one of the top performers this season for the team. I don't think he's underperformed at all.
Do you want a player that's going to, be not happy with their playing time going into the stretch drive of the season?
There's that as well. I mean, we're just basing that on rumor and conjecture. So, I mean, when you speak to him, if you do get to speak to him on Tuesday, I was hoping to speak to him 2 weeks ago, but it never quite worked out about his time away with Haiti. So I hope to get that lined up at some point soon.
He has his cats here.
Well, there you go. He's going to stay. Fafa's going to be a key part for this team, especially with the big stretch that's coming up. So he is going to get time. He's going to get playing time. The Caps are away now until Sporting Kansas City come to visit on July 17th. 3 days after that, Houston are in town. So we know that those 2 games are going to be played on the good old BC Place turf.
Oh, grass talk.
Yeah. The next match at the stadium after that, the friendly against Wrexham on July 27th, it looks like it's going to be played on grass. So Har had heard some murmurs about that. So she asked Axel about that at the press conference on Thursday. So before we chat about it, here's just what Axel had to say about it.
I almost have to say this is hearing saying even on my side, but my information is that they have requested to put grass into the stadium to the promoter after the game, and as everyone knows, both teams are guests invited by a promoter who is doing this game, and so I think we will get the final confirmation before we play the game. I think we will know a day before the game. We will find out. But right now, it's not about us to comment on it. It's, as I said, almost hearing saying, because we are also just a guest to this game.
So there could be grass. Not sure
I think
granted, or?
This is now really nothing that I can officially confirm, but by the last things that I have heard and know, there will be grass.
When is it going in?
Not a lot of days before, because we play before,
a week before.
That game will not be played on grass, so it has to happen between our last home game and the game.
Axel Schuster talking about Wrexham, talking about grass. So you'd had a little tip off that Wrexham were wanting grass put into BC Place.
No.
For this match. You hadn't heard that.
I heard a different tip-off.
Oh.
I heard a murmur in Toronto, but I didn't have an opportunity to ask when we did that Zoom call with the Wrexham peeps. I had really bad Wi-Fi, and I got Tyler Green mixed up with someone else, so I didn't get a chance to ask. But then, I was in New England, as we mentioned, and I just talked to Axel, and he had maybe heard something about a request, but he wasn't quite sure. He didn't really know. So I just followed up with that at the presser a couple of days ago because I was told it was a different type of artificial turf that was going to be that it was going to be.
Oh,
I didn't know it was going to be grass. I just asked what special request this was, and it was Axel that revealed that it was grass. So that was a surprise and kind of a big
oh,
deal. And then I followed it up Saturday night and said, people are asking if this grass is going to stay in. Maybe you'll get to use it for a couple of Whitecaps games. No, it's going in probably a few days ahead of time just for that one game. Then it's gone. Whitecaps are not paying for it. We know that. So it's still a bit mystery. It's like pulling teeth trying to get information from the promoters.
I did a little bit of digging as well, about like whether the grass could stay or whether BC Place would consider grass in the future or whatever. So how it was told to me by an insider, let's just say, was it's not worth it to BC Place to have grass in permanently. It's more cost effective for them to bring it in for the odd game like this, as opposed to the lost revenue they would have by not having, say, concerts or trade shows or stuff. So they make way more money out of that. So they don't mind bringing it in for a special occasion, like the World Cup. It's obviously going to come in and stuff as well. But there's no way that they would have it permanently because they would just lose other things that occupy the stadium and generate a lot more money. Look at Taylor Swift, for example. It's like if you're a grass pitch, you don't want that trampled. I've seen grass pitches at stadiums in Scotland after concerts, and they're in horrendous shape. Even when they have festivals at Swangard, the pitch is not great after that. So it looks like it's just going to be in for this one game and then away again. Let's just hope it's not a debacle with the pitch like it was for the Man City game back in 2011. That was totally different, of course, because of the rain. They do that. They've done it at Copa. They've put grass pitches down just for the tournament and stuff.
You want your star guys playing on a thing that's been down for like 2 or 3 days and then they've not been used to it?
I think they'll just play half a game anyway. I would imagine there's going to be so many players get a run out in this game. It is an interesting one. Lots of people want a grass pitch. Now, I recently commentated at the TSS Whitecaps League One game, Zach, and after the game, I was going down the stairs and I heard some of the Whitecaps girls talking, and they were talking about how strange it was to play on grass.
Oh yeah,
because they train on turf and they play on turf, and then there's only 2 pitches in League One that's grass pitches, so players find it weird to now play on that surface, and that to me is just weird in itself. But I just don't see us ever getting to the stage where we'll have permanent grass at BC Place unless someone really does pony up the money. But if you can bring it in for special occasions like this, and I use special occasions loosely because it's, but you know what I mean by special occasion, like a special event, because that's what this basically is. It is an event.
So what is it? What does this mean for the World Cup, right? Like,
well, they'll bring it in. It has to get tested. So the Whitecaps will probably play on grass at the start of the season at BC Place.
Right. But so everyone who's hoping that could be permanent, that's obviously not happening.
Well, there's been no final decision, but the person I spoke to basically said it's not cost effective for Pavko to have a permanent grass pitch.
No. But yeah, it'll be good that the Whitecaps will get to play on it. In terms of this, like, yeah, you've even seen at the Copa. I don't know if have you read the criticisms at Copa?
No.
Yeah, so Weston McKinney was the second one. I forget who was the first one, Har. He responded, he acknowledged and kind of reiterated someone else's.
Oh,
I forget which player it was.
Totally.
No, but they said, look, the surfaces are not reliable. He said, we're watching, during the day as a team, we're watching the Euro and the perfect pitches in those beautiful German stadiums that are made for football that, are manicured and whatever. And then he's like, you watch this great play. I forget, he referenced some goal. And he's like, yeah, that can't happen at Copa because you don't know. You can't play a give and go. You can't play a 1-2 and know that the ball's going to come back to you because I think he said the return pass might come at your head.
Oh.
Because of the bobbliness of the pitch and whatever, or the giving away underfoot, like the grass kind of giving away underfoot. That's why I think you've seen a number of slips. Although to be fair, Euro you've seen a lot of slips as well, but I think that might have had to do with watering.
Also, Argentina complained after that first game.
Yeah, but what does Argentina not complain about? Did they circle the Copa officials up and say, "Hey"?
I mean, it was
Maybe
nice that
there's-
Messi turned up for that one.
Yeah.
One last Whitecaps thing to talk about. Shocking news came out on Wednesday afternoon, AM 7:30, just
Oh yeah.
went off the air. And as such, the Whitecaps had lost their radio partner for their play-by-play games. So I asked Axel about that at that press conference on Thursday, and he said it was the first of them knowing about it. So they were basically blindsided by it as well. They hadn't planned for this. They didn't know it was coming. It's clearly cost cutting because there's also a station in Edmonton that was shut down, but it left the Whitecaps scrambling. So the games at the weekend were broadcast on CKNW's website and Whitecaps website as well. Now, a lot of people listen to the radios through the websites. A couple of folk had mentioned that to me when I talked about it. But
Mhm.
I mean, most of the time I'm watching Apple, I'm watching it on TV. I like the radio stuff. And I drive to the games and I listen to the post game. I
Yeah,
drive home.
totally.
So the pre-game, drive home, listen to the post game. Sometimes if I've missed the start, I stick the radio on the car.
Totally.
When it's on a website, you can't do that the same without getting your
Well,
phone out and
well, yeah, you have to stream it, right?
yeah.
Like that's the
So I mean, hopefully they do sort out a radio partnership. I mean, it surely has to be CKNW, but do they have room even to air it? The Lions are there. Sometimes there's going to be clashes of games. It's like the Lions will take precedence because they moved there first. So it's a bit of a mess for the Whitecaps. My solution is move to CITR 101.9 FM. We are the only soccer show on Vancouver radio. So we're happy to take on the commentary aspects. But when you look at the state of Vancouver radio, it's so sad. Like when I go back to Scotland, I love driving about, put on talk radio. There's all the different sports talk radios, Five Live, Talk Sport, loads of other ones as well. There's digital radio that's got certain shows. There's games broadcast all over the place. And it's so different here. And it's like, I mean, Zach, even last season, I did a pitch to Steph at Vancouver FC. I was like, get a radio partner and we can try and do some pre-game shows, post-game shows, maybe commentary or whatever. And it's something that they'd looked at, but the issue is there isn't like a radio station here that would do something like that. There was Team 1040, 1410, Sportsnet. Sportsnet don't really care about soccer.
They don't. No.
So radio here is a very different animal, and it's quite sad because I'd love there to be a proper sport radio, but one that doesn't just talk about the Canucks as well.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Good luck with that.
I know that.
Yeah, it is.
Because it gets ratings.
Well, I mean, yeah, that is the thing. And it's like you speak to journalists, and I've spoken to folk in the past, and JJ will tell you this. He could write a story on a Canucks player with an ingrown toenail, and it would have 10,000 views. Whereas you write a really in-depth piece about like the young guys that were at the TST 7v7 tournament, hardly got any traction.
Yeah,
and that's the much more interesting story.
Yeah. It's very, very unfortunate because I like you, Michael. There are times when, especially pregame, where I'm like driving, I'm like, I'm just going to listen to Colin and Asa, and
they do such a good job.
Yeah.
Like they have very interesting guests on. Obviously, I'm biased because I've been on loads, but it's like they do have interesting guests on. They've got lots of guests from the opposition. Sarita comes on and gives some good insight and stuff as well. And the like Asa and Colin have such a good rapport and banter, and it's great fun listening to them. And they'll still be doing whatever, wherever, but it needs to be accessible. Because the other thing as well is with this Apple deal, a lot of people rely on the radio coverage to listen to the game, and then they just watch the highlights on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they need to get this sorted out, but I don't know what the easy answer is going to be. And I think it's probably going to be some of the games will be on CKNW, but then when there's clashes with the Lions or something else, you're probably going to get it streamed on a website.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do for the remainder of this season. I think it was a few years ago. Remember, there was the change in the radio broadcast, and it wasn't quite sure who was going to do it. And then Asa and Colin came on board, and they've been doing a great job. They're fantastic. But again, maybe going into next year, they're able to find a permanent solution or something that they can get a network for the whole year. But for the rest of this season, I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, Axel is looking for some kind of final solution, and hopefully they can find it. I don't know what that is going to be. It's just another thing about the state of media in this country, TV and radio. We're going to talk about Copa and the Euros in the next part. Something that's really pissed me off is TSN are not showing all the Copa games on their main channels, which people pay for.
Yeah.
It's not free to get TSN. So you're then having to pay extra to get the other Copa games. And what pissed me off the other day was they showed a rerun, including halftime analysis of Georgia-Portugal, which was a fantastic game, but there was a live Copa game going on that they could have shown instead. And it's the thing, like with the Women's League having this deal with TSN and CBC, I said at the time, be careful what you ask for, because a lot of these games you'll probably find will be in TSN Plus.
Yeah, I didn't even know TSN Plus was like an extra thing. I thought it was just like, oh, TSN Online. I watched lots of stuff online.
Yeah, they used to have it that you could sign in and you'd get a bonus channel.
Yeah.
But not anymore. It
Not
has
anymore.
to be paid $8.99 a month.
I went to go look for one of the Copa matches and I was like, what? I got to pay for this?
Yeah.
$8 a month. I was like, yeah, I will just watch the highlights later.
Yeah, I just find other.
I think Sportsnet's a little bit different where you can watch online more.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is Sportsnet hates football other than Michael's FA Cup.
Yeah, which is great fun.
That's true.
Well, just before we end this segment, because I know we're going to lose Har soon, and I know a couple women's football questions for you, because I know you follow it closer than I do, and so I'd love to hear your perspective. Well, first off, do you follow the NWSL Match of the Week on TSN? Like, do you watch this? Because I usually record the games and I'll watch part of it or fast forward.
It's a bit hard because of the Whitecaps games are sometimes at the same time, so obviously I see highlights. I keep tabs on how the Canadians are doing, but it's just challenging because there's like hardly any games on in the first place.
Yeah. And then more importantly, closer to home, do you have any insights, updates, tidbits about the Northern Super League for us that might be new to us, or that maybe we haven't talked about or thought about?
I was told a few names that the women's team might be called by a certain Scottish fellow showed me the other night. And so I had an opportunity to ask Axel about that. And they've not settled on a team name for the women's team. You mentioned Queens, Rise, and Summit.
Summit, yeah.
So if those names got out, it's basically down to market research or market analysis or just brainstorming or just kind of analyzing what names it could be. Analyzing, rather.
Yeah,
and so,
they're horrible names.
They don't have a name. They're not selecting anything. I don't know where those names came from or how those got out there, but no, there's no name.
So Harb, to that end though, Harb, what are your thoughts on the team not being called like the Vancouver Whitecaps or Whitecaps Women or something along those lines? You think it's a good
maybe
idea,
them wanting to distance it from the previous editions of the Whitecaps, so I can see maybe they wanting to go with a different path or journey. So that's all right with me, as long as they have a good team and you get a good coaching staff, some good players, good venue, good sport. I think that's what matters. And so we'll see what happens. I'm excited because the Whitecaps Girls Elite team, if they win their qualifying game, we might get we'll get San Diego and Portland coming up to play. And it sounds like those NWSL teams will play at BC Place. I was told that they're trying to get those games there.
Sweet.
So imagine having Christine or Kaylin Sheridan or Fleming or Becky playing at BC Place, because we all thought that was going to be, Christine Sinclair's last game in Vancouver.
Oh,
so
of course.
Imagine if she's on the pitch October 15th. That would be amazing because it's her last club season. So
yeah,
let's go Whitecaps Girls Elite team. Let's get a result down there.
And just one last thing, Har. What for you? Is there any, what's most exciting about what's going on with NSL right now?
It's just really exciting to see the league coming together and seeing how it's being built and all the enthusiasm and people getting behind what Diana Matheson is doing and what she's all about. And she's really spearheaded this and put it in place because this country needs a women's league, and we don't have one. There's no pathway, no development. So to get it going, to get it off the ground, it's exciting times, and I hope that the fans, they go out and they turn out and support the Vancouver team and the teams across the country because it's long overdue. And props to DMath for getting it done. And yeah, it's really exciting times. And also, the women's roster is going to be announced in the morning for the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite exciting as well. There's going to be some surprises on the roster, so fans should keep an eye out for that in the morning.
Cool.
I guess it'll be out by now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
time
yeah.
folk listen to this, it'll be out, and folk will be surprised.
Thank you so much, Har, because I deeply appreciate and respect your perspective on
Thank
these
you.
things
Very
because
nice, Zach.
you have your finger on the pulse far greater than I do. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Zach said there. Always great insight from you, Hart. Thank you for joining us to talk Whitecaps in these two parts. Just before you go, let everyone know where they can find your stuff online.
You can find this stuff on the internet, the Daily Hive, Canadian Soccer Daily as well, on the old Twitter, the X Machine. Hoping to speak to Fafa, hoping to have that out later this week, and maybe something with Whitecaps Academy player, maybe some other stuff down the road. So just, keep it locked and just be nice and be respectful towards people because players are trying their hardest, and just be respectful.
Very nice way to end. And that is it for our Whitecaps chat in this part. We will be back, though, talking Euros after we take you back to 1974.
Hi, I'm Rainer Pozo, and you're listening to the AFTN Show.
La 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 the light of love. Oh, light of love, won't you shine on me? Won't you shine on me? Light of love. Oh, won't you burn? Won't you burn for me?
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. They support us. Go and support them for all your family legal needs. And kicking off this part, we've taken you all the way back to 1974. The wonderful vocals of Mark Bolan. A song there from T-Rex, released this week 50 years ago in the UK. The song is called Light of Love. It reached number 22 in the UK charts, and it was released as a song on a US-only album of the same name in 1974, and then it featured on T-Rex's 1975 album, their 10th studio album, Bolan's Zip Gun. And this week, 50 years ago in Whitecaps land, it was a one-game week for the Whitecaps as they got set for back-to-back games, very aptly, against St. Louis. With St. Louis City just being in Vancouver this past weekend, 50 years ago, It was St. Louis Stars that were coming to Empire Stadium on the afternoon of Sunday, July 7th. In the build up to that game, Whitecaps head coach Jim Easton told the province that 2 victories back to back and 6 goals in the net will suit me just fine. Well, unfortunately for Easton, that isn't how the game played out at Empire in the first of the 2 meetings between the sides. It finished 1 apiece after 90 minutes, another draw for the Whitecaps. 8,142 fans were at Empire to see the Whitecaps dominate the game against St. Louis, outshooting the visitors 31-6. But it was St. Louis who opened the scoring with their first attack of the match. Denny Vanninger smashing the ball past Sam Newson from 10 yards out. And then after that, St. Louis just sat back looking to try and grind out the 1-0 victory, or at worst, a 1-1 draw and take their chances in the shootout. But with 13 minutes of the match remaining, Glenn Johnson tied things up, getting on to a nice through ball and lobbing the St. Louis keeper to tie things up and to move into a penalty shootout. And once again, it was Whitecaps goalkeeper Sam Newson that was the hero of the day, saving 2 of St. Louis's 5 penalties. St. Louis also hit another one wide. The Whitecaps scored 3 of their 4 attempts and won the shootout 3-2, coming away with the overall 2-1 victory and 5 crucial points in the NASL standings. And that was this week, 50 years ago, in Whitecaps land. From the past right up to the present, and the international football tournaments are in full flow over in Europe and here in North America. We're going to kick things off in this part by chatting a little bit about Euros 2024. We don't need to talk too much about that, though, Zach. Scotland's out. No Scotland, no party. Tournament's over. Isn't that how it works?
Oh, totally. Totally.
I've got to admit, I'm very disappointed. I was learning Slovakian phrases up until the 93rd minute of the game this morning.
That was, man, that was so close. I mean, hopefully it just means that Switzerland will take them in the next round.
Switzerland are going to destroy them.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And considering Scotland drew with Switzerland, I mean, basically, this would be like us beating England.
Yeah, in your mind, I think that's a good way to think about it.
Also, we'd spoken the last show that I had said, I was glad at least somebody won that game, Hungary against Scotland, so that someone had the opportunity to go through, and then Hungary didn't make it.
Yeah.
But if Scotland had won,
they would have been through.
They would have got through as the fourth of the fourth place teams.
Yeah.
Tough.
It makes you feel worse, doesn't it, Michael?
Yeah, although like the big turning point, which I realised I alluded to in the show and I was going to talk about it and then didn't, was the penalty that wasn't given in the Scotland game. And for me, I didn't think it was a penalty because our guy instigated the contact and went in front of it. So I was totally fine by it.
Yeah.
And then the UEFA referee official has come out this week and basically said exactly the same thing. They looked at it and it wasn't given because it felt he instigated it. And that's what I felt at the time. And unfortunately, taking off my biased hat, and I think it was the right decision. There was a lot of resentment, though, that game was refereed by the only South American in the tournament.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I do not understand why a guy from Argentina is in the Euros and why we happen to get Scotland, for that game.
Yeah, it's like a double whammy there.
Yeah.
Like it's not from the Confederation and from a country that has historical hostility towards one of the teams. Yeah, I thought it was absolutely bizarre. Now, obviously, I think we've seen this with other tournaments before, where they have different referees. From continents, but like, I don't.
Well, the Scotland manager had come out afterwards and basically said, why was he doing the game? They referee the game differently in Europe from South America. And to be fair, that is true.
Oh, that is true. I mean,
as we've seen
I don't know if we
And we'll
talked about it
talk
on our
about,
last. I don't know if we talked about it on our last show or just been tweeted a little bit about it or whatever. But like, yeah, for those who've never watched Copa America and who are now watching it for the first time because Canada's there, you see that the game is
Mhm.
different. I've had multiple people come up to me this week being like, why are things so like why is there so much grabbing and pulling down and
I actually had a thought this week when I was watching one of the games. Like, as much as I quite enjoy it as a one-off kind of thing,
yeah,
watching this, I'm glad that's not my regular
yes.
spell of international football because
And you
it's not enjoyable.
no, and you say that with as little ethnocentrism as possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and which
Well, just the
I
play acting,
no,
and
it's
like I don't care what country they come from.
and I know there's people listening to this, they're like, oh, that you see that in Europe too. And my historical argument would be in football that emigrated to Europe from South America
Mm.
or from South America slash you could say maybe Central America, but definitely from South America, and it was allowed to be a part of the game by the lawmakers. That I think they could have done. I think I wrote a blog about it in 2010 at during the World Cup, like simulation and yeah, the style of play in general is unique to South America or South
Mhm.
and in some cases Central America. We could talk about I think we'll talk about the Panama US match in a little bit, but yeah, the parts of that are, let's say, frustrating or disturbing to say North Americans or Africans or Asians or Europeans. um, I, I think that FIFA slash IFAB are the ones that have the ability to address those frustrations
Mhm.
by dealing with them in the laws of the game and dealing with them in how you enable referees to conduct themselves and laws to be applied and sanctions or punishments or whatever for certain types of behavior to be applied. And
Mm.
FIFA has always been, shall we say, reluctant to do that. And maybe it's because they felt if we do so, we're being ethnocentric. That
Yeah.
might be the reason. But it's not even debatable to say that it literally is on. Yeah, I guess it is debatable. It is like watching a different game.
Well, it
But
is, and it's like I like physical games.
totally.
I like the physicality, and I have enjoyed some of the physicality in this. I like talking about how it's over in Europe. Like going back to the 1974 World Cup, Brazil played Scotland, and I was recently listening to a podcast that was talking about the 74 World Cup as well, somewhat bizarrely since what we've been doing this year. And the Brazil Scotland game in that tournament, Brazil, they had the reputation for all this free flowing football and all this skill and Pele and everything. They basically kicked Scotland off the park, but Scotland also kicked them off the park. And it was a highly physical game. And even then, when you go back to the 1962 World
Yes.
Cup, there's the famous Battle of
Battle of
Chile,
Santiago. Yeah.
Chile and Italy.
I've told some people this week to go and Google that and
Yeah,
watch.
that's insane.
It's
We
crazy.
should sit and watch some of these and do extra podcasts about it and then get folk to sit and watch it and listen to us talk about it. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun.
That was, I think, yeah, absolutely crazy
Yeah.
time when a World Cup was in South America
Mhm.
and the flavors of football there came out. And I can't they're so negative, in my opinion, or there's so many of them or a number of them are negative that I don't know anyone who would argue that they should be legitimized or they should be allowed or they should be a part of the game. And yet they are.
Yeah. Always remember the Uruguayan centre back we had here, Diego, that grabbed the ball.
Rodriguez, yeah.
Rodriguez. Oh, yeah. That was funny, but earned him a big suspension.
Yeah, he grabbed more than the ball, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get back to Euro before we move on to talking about
lots of drama,
Yes.
drama in. I mean, the best group in the tournament is Group D because for me, there's countries I like and players I like from obviously from Bayern. Bayern former or current players are in all four of the countries there or in all four there, and I was so happy that Austria topped this group.
I
So
watched that
happy.
one live down in Newport, and wow, what a game. Because it was like place I was staying in, they had Fox Sports as well as Fox. So I could choose what game. And I was like, oh, Netherlands, Austria game is going to be the absolute cracker. What a match that was. Is that my match of the tournament so far? I think it probably is.
Well, you're not English, so then yeah, it definitely is.
Well, like Group C, like
Oh,
taking England out of it, my hatred for them.
it was a terrible
That
group.
was a disgrace of a group.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Slovenia had some moments, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
but like,
Slovenia went undefeated. I guess so did Denmark,
yeah,
but
Scotland
so did
played
so did
abysmal.
England.
Yeah, Scotland played abysmal, and Group C was the other abysmal group. And the common
Yeah.
denominator is it's two UK sides because England and in Group C,
Yeah.
those games were painful to watch.
Yeah.
It felt, and it's not the only time I'm going to say this in this segment. It was like teams didn't know what they had to do to qualify, and they thought, "Oh, if I just play and do nothing, I'm going to get through."
Hmm.
Somehow England did manage that, and the abuse that they were getting booed off the park.
Yeah.
Even in like after beating Serbia, they got booed off the park. But then they drew with Denmark in a terrible game, and that
Yes.
Slovenia game was just like Slovenia. I think knew that they just had enough to what they had to do to get through, and they just squeaked in as that fourth place team. Which if Scotland had won, it would have been at the expense of Slovenia. But Serbia disappointed again.
Yeah.
And yeah, that wasn't a fun group. Group B, I don't enjoy watching Spain.
No.
I can't like even the game today. I know they put the goals up, but it's like it's just something about them I just don't enjoy watching.
I'm with you on that.
The
These are the things that bring us together. Our
yes,
our lack of appreciation for things like the Spanish national team, the English national team. These are our bonding things, Mike.
well, the other team to talk about in this is Italy
Yeah.
because they squeaked through Group B. Now, that the dramatic equalizer in what was it, the 98th minute? Let me get it up. Yeah, 98th
Yes.
minute from Zakagny. Absolute beautiful goal. Stunning end to a game. Felt heartbroken for Croatia, especially Luka Modric. He just looked just distraught when that went in. But it showed that they fought to the end and it was drama. It was probably the most dramatic game of the group stages. Although maybe Austria, Holland
Yeah.
is up there as well. But
The Austria game was so good.
yeah,
They're qualifying as the group winners was added by a, a poor another poor penalty giveaway by Upamecano, Bayern center back, and Lewandowski at the second time of asking was able to score and bring some joy to Polish hearts, even though they were already eliminated. I want to read this to you about the Italians. So obviously, I have a number of good friends who are Italian, who even though I appreciate them more than I appreciate the FIGC. But so I messaged them. So one of them said this is from the best man for my wedding. I said, I'm so sorry. This is after they got eliminated. So sorry about the game against Switzerland. He said, thank you. And this is so apt. He said, Spalletti must not continue. So the coach needs to go, right? He said just simple sentence, but so powerful. He said, Spalletti is like a bus driver thrown into a Formula One car.
I had tweeted out like what a disgrace it was performance wise. We'll come to that in a sec. Let's just quickly finish the group stuff because I want to talk about Group E because of the craziness of four teams on 4 points and Ukraine sadly missing out. But you've got to give full credit to Slovakia as well for the way that they played and felt for them today as well. But Slovakia beating Belgium 1-0 and then getting that draw with Romania. But Romania, eh, not quite the Romania of old, like the 90s Romania.
Isn't
They,
that Haji? Isn't that Haji's son though?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's not quite got the same
No.
flair as
No.
the 90s Romania that I watched in the 94 World Cup and stuff. But they've got some really skillful players, and they topped that group as well. And Belgium, again, just not rising to the occasion at a big tournament.
No.
And very lucky that Ukraine couldn't find the goal that was going to put it through. But that was a game as well where Ukraine just weren't doing enough to get the winning goal, and it was so disappointing to see. And Group F, I think the result of the group stage is Georgia's win over Portugal.
So wonderful.
Oh, and
So
they
much
deserved
joy.
it.
Oh yeah.
And the atmosphere for the Georgian fans in that game, but the game today as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, how you must be exhausted whistling for that long. 90 minutes of constant whistling when Spain were on the ball. But I mean that was an interesting group, and Turkey, which I'm still getting used to saying, as well, played some really nice stuff, and their fans were like incredible as well. The Czechs really kind of disappointed. But I mean, it brought us up to the group stage, and we're recording this on Sunday nights. There's been the first four of the round of 16 matches played. Starting off on Saturday with Switzerland's 2-0 win over Italy. Italy, as we've mentioned, were absolutely abysmal. It
Well,
was
they went down 1-0 in the first half, and then you thought, okay, they're going to come out in the second half. They're going to show some resolve. Spalletti's going to have said some things to them, and Augsburg's Vargas like scores in like the first minute or second minute of first half with like a great strike, a great goal, and then there was like just nothing, no passion, no like there was no kind of tactical shift to like do something big. It was all really simple and very not Italian. I don't know.
well.
It was
I
disappointing.
got a couple of messages from Max Mussolini, who's the dad of one of the local League One players and SFU players, and he was like, one of the absolute worst Italy rosters in history, with a coach who played favourites in his lineup selection and overthinks everything too much. Couldn't get this group to perform at all. So timid. He did say that they're probably missing 6 starters through injury or suspension, but he said, I'm not buying this Catenaccio excuse. We haven't played that way for years until
No,
now. This wasn't Catenaccio
no, it
because you
wasn't.
can't have that without a counter attack.
Yeah, and they were really poor on the counterattack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their defense of the title, it just ended with a whimper. It was so. I mean, I
I was
wanted Switzerland to go through, but it was just so disappointing a game to see. It was so boring.
like I was saying, like I was really happy that they got through the group and really stoked that they got that late goal that was awesome, and thought, Italy's had some awful group stages in the past and still done extremely well in tournaments, including winning them after having really poor group stages. So I didn't think too much about it, but yeah, Switzerland just really like outplayed them, and like again, like kind of bossed them, and like were fully deserving winners. And I'm excited to see what Switzerland will do in the next round, and hopefully in the next round, like we said earlier, they'll be victorious again.
Yes, I will be getting all my Toblerone and Lindt chocolate in. I hated them in the second game of the tournament for Scotland. Now I'm cheering them on.
Yeah.
But today's games. Oh no, we
Well,
skipped over the important one for you. Silly
Yeah.
me.
Imagination that, Michael.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about how the Danes were robbed.
Well, yeah. Okay. Tell me. You texted this to me, and I told you you're delusional. Tell me how they were robbed exactly.
Well, they were in command of the game. You had a word with God. You made it rain, putting off the Danes completely, and then VAR decisions robbing them of a goal.
When? Which goal were they robbed of?
The one that may or may not have been offside.
Yeah, no, they had one, or was it two? I can't remember now. The first one they got called back that I can remember, I thought when I first saw it, I was just like, oh, they're not going to say it's offside because he was passive on the ball in, and
Yeah,
then it got played to
that
him.
was actually where I was coming from. I thought that was
But have you seen the line drawn for it? And it was actually the first guy. It's when the ball's played in, his back heel is offside. Yeah. That's why I was just like,
oh
because I knew you fast forwarded through it, so I'm like, you wouldn't have seen this.
no, I didn't. Yeah,
It
because the
was
problem was I couldn't watch it live because I was commentating,
yeah,
and then the
yeah,
Canada game was on, and I
yeah.
thought if I don't fast forward through the Germany game, it's maybe going to get spoiled because I have
Ruined.
the graphics at the bottom of the screen
Yeah,
that tell you the scores.
it would
So
have
I
been for
thought,
you. No,
yeah,
you did
I'll
the right, you did the right thing, but there's no way you would not have caught that.
yeah.
And but
I'm winding you up, obviously, because
yeah,
it's like
because it was
it was
legitimately
offside
it was offside.
when they showed it, and then yeah, it was a penalty.
It was absolutely a penalty. And Kai Havertz, I was a little surprised. So Germany made three changes. One was enforced. Tah was suspended due to yellow card accumulation. Nico Schlotterbeck from Dortmund replaced him at left center back. Made sense. The other two changes, I was a little surprised at. Mittelstadt came out at left back, replaced. He's from Stuttgart, replaced by uh, uh, Leipzig's David Raum. I was a little surprised at that, but I think Raum did an adequate job. The more frustrating one for me is, and this is I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I just because you play for Bayern Munich doesn't mean I like you. Like I still don't really like Arjen Robben. For all that he did for Bayern, massive goals, Champions League, I'm just not a fan of Arjen Robben.
But you love Harry Kane.
No, I'm not. I do not. I'm not a fan of Harry Kane either.
I'm not a
Anyways,
fan of Harry Kane either.
Mario Gomez, another guy played for Bayern, awful. I can't stand him.
Alfonso Davies, you hate him.
Alfonso Davies, I love him even if he leaves. But no, the one player at Bayern who right now there's probably we got rid of two of them, so there's a couple more that I don't think should be there. One of them is Leroy Sané. I just don't appreciate Leroy Sané. I think maybe I have said on the show before. He reminds me of Breck Shea, where he's an incredibly talented footballer for where he's at, but he looks disinterested on the pitch.
Mm.
And or at points, he looks disinterested on the pitch. His body language doesn't say, I care about this and I'm going to give my all to it. And so he's incredibly talented, obviously incredibly fast, can score goals, has an Arjen Robben like ability to play on the right and cut in with his foot on the left and bend goals in. But yeah, just not. He started in replace of Florian Wirtz, who I highly rate, and I love how Nagelsmann has Wirtz and Jamal Musiala playing together. I think they're doing an extra job. Anyways, that was the other change. The penalty comes, and I was shocked because I think when Havertz scored, oh no, when Havertz scored against you from the penalty spot, was Gundogan replaced at that point? I think he was, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Anyways, I was surprised that
I
Gundogan
blocked that game out of my memory very
Yeah.
quickly.
I was surprised that Gundogan gave Havertz the ball and said, "Yeah, no, you take it." Havertz scores, well taken penalty inside of his left foot, bottom right corner, good pace. But then the goal of the game was Jamal Musiala, ball over the top, and Schmeichel starts to come for it and then realizes, oh, Musiala is faster than I thought. I'm not going to get there. Pulls back, and Musiala just easily goes in on the inside left channel, inside of his right foot, on the right side, bends it, and gets his foot around the ball and puts it into the side netting on the far right corner. Wonderful goal. At that point, I felt mostly secure, though I thought we were going to concede and it was going to be tight at the end. But all in all, a respectable win for Germany. They move into the knockout stages, or sorry, they move into the quarterfinals, where on paper they will not be favorites for the first time in the tournament.
Yeah. So they're going to be playing Spain.
Well,
Spain.
it's good. It's good. It's the only good thing I'll say about this is now, at least I know Michael McCall will be supporting them.
I was waiting to say. I was going to say Spain are going to make me cheer for Germany
Love it. I'm here for it, Michael.
or a meteor
Yeah.
or
Okay.
another big hailstorm.
Thunderstorm.
That was like, wow.
It
Those
was.
fans looked drenched out there.
But was it not crazy? It's not. There's not MLS rules there, eh?
I know. It's like,
much-
okay, we'll
much-
just wait,
much quicker,
wait a few
much-
minutes until the
yeah.
lightning goes away.
Yeah, MLS is like minimum 40-minute wait, everyone. Minimum 40-minute wait till we can, our weather technology here says, we got to wait and make sure it doesn't ever happen.
Yeah. Because I was
There
fast
was so
forwarding
quick.
through it going, I'm never going to get to the Canada game at this rate. And then I started to think, I hope I've got the end of this on the PVR. I always allow extra,
Extra.
especially in the knockout games anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spain today looked rampant. I mean, they
Oh,
were dominant and then
Georgia
they
took
went
the lead.
behind. Yeah.
That
But I
was
mean, it was way against the run of play, but it was a great goal. And Georgia almost got a second as well.
yeah, yeah.
But it was I it was a great atmosphere. Georgia did so well. Scotland beat Georgia twice in the qualifying, but then
I,
Georgia got
I
in with the Europa League thing, whatever, Nations League nonsense.
Nations. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I think they acquitted themselves incredibly well.
Yeah.
You saw at the end them celebrating with their countrymen and women and children and whatever, and just having a great time. They did the big Viking clap thing or
Yeah.
whatever, and it was really nice to see. Spain.
It's nice to see some of the lesser countries, for want of a better word, rise it up to the occasion.
Totally.
Makes me realize how far behind Scotland's fallen just in general. But it's great to see these countries coming through and having their moment on the big stage.
Yeah. Like, as much as they'll be like, oh yeah, we got smashed 4-1. It's like, yeah, you made, but they're also like, yeah, we made the knockout stages at a Euro for the
Like
first
no one gave them any chance. Lowest
No.
ranked country in it, and yeah, I mean they were a joy to watch.
And let's go to the second David and Goliath story with Slovakia versus England.
Yeah, plucky England coming back from the death. I was messaging my friends in our East 5 WhatsApp group, and I said in about the 80s, late 80s minute, I went, England's going to tie this up because Slovakia are sitting way too deep. They needed to attack. Like the best form of defense is attack. It's an old cliche, but it's very accurate.
No, so was it Scrantz or whatever gives them the opening goal in the 25th minute? I can't remember when in the game it was, Michael. If it was the first half or the second half. But do you recall the moment when England messes about with the ball in about midfield, and I can't remember which Slovakian.
Oh, and he almost scored.
Yeah, he goes for the shot from distance, and Pickford's well off his line. If that would have been such a tasty turning point for Slovakia, I think.
See, the thing is, I said this in the last Euros, and I couldn't believe I said it then, and I'm repeating it now. That England team at Euro 2020, it was the most likable English team in my lifetime. There was a lot of players in that you kind of rooted for. And you're like, they're really nice guys off the pitch and they're making a difference and they're not just assholes. There's a lot of assholes and unlikable people in this England squad.
Do you want to name some of them? Because I'm trying
Pickford is one of them.
Okay.
Ivan Toney.
He was on the team last time.
But he wasn't really.
So he's grown.
He's grown worse. Phil Foden's just.
Oh yeah, Phil Foden. I hear you. I've heard lots of people say
Ivan Toney as well. He's
the guy who got banned, didn't he?
Yeah. And I joked when he came on. Oh, he's coming on for stoppage time. He must have a bet that he's going to score the winner. And they got equalized in stoppage time.
The equalizer. Okay, was it a throw-in? Was that a throw-in? I think it was a throw-in, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
I think it was a throw-in. And
I just remember the finish.
I don't think it was Tony. It was
a stunning finish.
Wasn't it? Was it Guy, the center back, who flicked it? Anyway, someone flicks it, and Jude Bellingham. What a finish!
Mm-hmm.
The young lad.
He is one of the best players in the world at the moment.
Of course, the young lad who came to Germany to develop as a footballer, then gets sold for massive profit to Real Madrid, returns to Germany to just show his quality for the Three Lions, to keep them from getting eliminated. His celebrations was quite nice. He celebrated his own, the whole team, and then he did the thing with Harry Kane, which I think was towards the Slovakian end, if I'm not wrong, which was maybe kind of awkward, where they're just like, yeah.
Felt
as
the
soon
Slovakian players.
As soon as that went in, it was like, okay, they've broken, and
that's it.
England's going to score maybe multiple goals in time added on.
Slovakia had nothing left by that point.
Yeah.
But the thing is, England were atrocious in this game. There was a can't remember what it was for. If it was for it was for an injury, and it allowed the players 75th minute, I think it was, and the players came over to the sideline. That was the time that Southgate should have been really getting in amongst them and giving them tactics, and he wasn't. It looked like he'd given up,
Yeah.
and they've not been like they are getting crucified by their own supporters and all the pundits, and even after the win, they've
Yeah. Oh yeah.
been absolutely ripped to shreds for how they're playing because they're playing terrible.
They were
So
they
negative.
were so poor up until that moment of brilliance from Bellingham. They were going home deservedly.
Mhm.
It wasn't just a Slovakian fluke or whatever. It was like, no, England is not good in this game.
Yeah.
And all non-English fans would have been very happy to see that happen. Instead, they advance and they're in the quarterfinals, and they have to take on a more established, more experienced a side with greater quality in Switzerland, and that's going to be a really tasty quarterfinal.
A team as well that's full of confidence right now.
Totally. And not even confidence in this tournament, but going back to last Euro, they knocked out France, right? In a shooter, right? Like they know what it is to knock out, you know, a really big team. And they have players with so many players playing at such great clubs that with so much confidence that they can go and do this.
Friend of the show, Shaqiri.
Yeah.
I still loved my chat with Shaqiri a few years ago. He was so nice. Such just a genuinely nice guy that was happy to chat.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after he spent ages as well going around signing autographs in the stadium, an away stadium, and going around just signing autographs. Let's get to Wavelength just now.
Oh, there you go.
Because it's a Euro themed song. So I thought, oh, let's do this now. So I've played for all of June, all the Scotland songs. Interestingly, the Scotland had more Euro songs and shots on target for the tournament because I only played a small smidgen of the numerous songs that were brought out for Scotland. But I've got a fantastic song that I've been saving till after the Scotland ones for Belgium. But we're recording this it's now the 1st of July, and Belgium will be playing by the time this podcast comes out. So they might be out the tournament. So I'm sticking this song in now. It's by a duo called Omdat Hit Khan and Average Rob. Some hardcore techno for you, Zach. You're going to like this. The English translation is Let's Do This, and this is On Met La Patate.
We are Belgium, we are small klein petit, most underrated country in the whole galaxy. We are Belgium, we love stoofvlees with friet, we the kwakske mayonaise on the side alsjeblieft. We are Belgium, we love pinches and beer, in a can, glass or bottle, call it liquid plezier. We are Belgium, coffee cooker with cream, this is our chant of victory, now everybody scream! Belgium, together fallen back. Belgium, samen uit ons dak. Belgium, are you ready to quack? Belgium, on met la patate. Go Belgium! From Flanders to Wallonia, together reunited. We never feel alone, yeah, even Brussels is excited. Don't forget the German part, the sugar on a waffle. They're always in our heart, we legen die Kartoffel. Belgium, together fallen back. Belgium, samen uit ons dak. Belgium, are you ready to quack? Belgium, on met la patate. Go Belgium! Go Belgium! Belgium!
Sometimes we don't bother to connect with each other. Our language forms a wall, but we're not different after all. In Nederlands ou Français, we need to stick together.
Tous ensemble, samen sterk, Belgium forever! Belgium, together falling back. Belgium, samen uit ons dak. Belgium, are you ready to quat? Belgium, om het op het uit. Go Belgium! Hey, omdat het kan, give me extra stamp.
From Belgium, Omdat het kan and Average Rob on Met La Patate. Looking to unite Belgium, Zach, all the different nationalities, all the different language speakers, want them to unite behind not just the Belgian football team, but also the Belgians that are taking part in the Olympics this summer. So it's a song for all of sport. It's a Belgian anthem. It's an absolute banger, as I believe the kids still, they don't say that anymore, do they? But it's a really good hardcore dance track. I do like a bit of hardcore techno, especially when it's got a little bit of humour in it as well. So I thought I'd play that now because we're talking about the Euros. So we are recording this on Sunday into Monday. So there are still 4 round of 16 ties to go. And France play Belgium. So there is a good chance Belgium could be out. Portugal play Slovenia. That could be setting up a mouthwatering Portugal-France game for some. I hope it sets up Slovenia-Belgium, personally. Portugal, you feel, will be coming out with a point to prove after that Georgia game, though?
Oh, absolutely. But, oh yeah, come on. Cisco from Leipzig, yeah, he's going to score in that game and they're going to win. That's my hope, anyway.
Slovenia's best hope is it gets to 0-0 and it gets to penalties, I think. But I don't think it's going to be a joy to watch.
That's fair.
France-Belgium, I think, could be a cracker if Belgium can
shows up,
get something going. They need to wear their Tintin strips. That will inspire them.
No, well,
I love that they've done that, but
they're not going to do that because what's France going to wear? They're white against that? No, then they're not going to wear their blue.
Oh, well, France are the home team technically, so yeah.
Yeah, it'll be the red.
Yeah.
Or the dark red or whatever that thing is.
The games on Tuesday are very intriguing because Austria-Turkey I could see going either way. I think Austria is probably going to be the favourites the way they've been playing, but Turkey's playing some nice stuff.
I so want Austria to beat the Turks. That'd be great. The one thing we didn't talk about Austria, or maybe we did, I can't remember, but one of the things I love about this Austrian team is that David Alaba is not fully fit, but he's still there, like the cheerleader on the bench.
Yeah, I like they've done that.
I have a lot of time for him, and yeah.
The crowd for that should be amazing because obviously Austria is bordering it, and there's so many Turks in Germany as well that should be a tremendous atmosphere. Romania, Netherlands is really intriguing.
Totally.
I mean, Netherlands are my favourites to get to the final, and I think probably win it. But they were exposed against Austria, and Romania will see that, and I think they'll really take the game to them. And I hope Romania can get through. I always want the underdogs to do well. So I mean, I would love Romania to go far in this, just because I have got happy memories of watching them back in '94.
I would like the Netherlands to win that game.
The only thing about it is, though, I don't want England to have a very easy section to the final if they get past Switzerland, and my worry is if the Netherlands get knocked out, then no one's going to stop England.
Yeah, but so it's Netherlands, Austria, right? Versus the winner of England, Switzerland. So yeah, I wanted Switzerland, Austria in the semifinal, which is not going to happen, but that's what I would.
I mean, Germany's got it tough. Like you've got Spain, and then if you get through that, probably Portugal or France.
Yeah. It's definitely the much harder side of the bracket, but that's because countries like France came second.
Yeah.
Right? Um, yeah. Yeah.
It's been a good Euros. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been really, really good. Was the last one? Was it maybe it was two ago that they switched to 24 teams? I think maybe it was two
Definitely
ago.
the last one, but I can't remember
Yeah.
before
I
that.
remember thinking, oh, this is gonna be so bad. But
Yeah.
these quote unquote smaller sides historically in the footballing terms have really, really stepped things up. I remember going back a tournament or two, it was like, oh, Iceland's here and taking names, and like getting stuff done. And now, you have countries like whatever, Georgia, even like for Austria to step up. I mean, they haven't been a power since the 50s or something. So there's lots of
They were strong in the 40s as well for a spell.
and even like Slovenia and Slovakia being in the knockout stages as well. There's
No, it's been great. Luxembourg nearly qualified for the Euros. Georgia got in at their expense.
As much as I like a cleaner, you look, you have 16 spots. So okay, so we got 4 groups, and it's much cleaner and neater and easier and whatever. This whole 24 in the third place teams gets in really makes it spicy.
I had a thought about that. I don't know if this is fair or if it would work, but it intrigued me. Instead of the 4 third place teams, why not just the 4 best teams with the next record? So you've got a group where you've got 4 teams on 4 points. It's like, why should one of those teams miss out just because of 1 goal or something? Because you could have a team finish on 4 and go out, and a team get 3 points and go through.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'd like it to be the 4 highest placed teams after that. Ideally, though, it is better to have tournaments like Copa, where you don't have the third place thing. I don't like that at all. I also don't like third, fourth place games, which I just realized when I was looking at the fixtures.
Euro doesn't have it.
No, but Copa does.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So if Canada were to get through, they've got at least another couple of games.
I don't mind. I don't mind that the World Cup has a third, fourth place game. I should say. And maybe that's because Germany, if Germany makes that game, they usually win it. Actually, I don't think they've ever lost it that I can remember.
We've never got out of the group, so I don't even understand what knockout football is.
Dude,
that's what was very unusual watching Canada.
No, but think about from a German perspective, Michael. They have not been in a knockout game since the Confederation Cup in 2017. It's been 7 years since Germany's played a knockout game, unless I'm misremembering something.
No, you're probably right.
And they won it, and now they have their the biggest test they've had a knockout game since probably that final or 2016 semifinal, you could say, I guess, in the Euro. So this is a massive game. I think on paper, Spain is the favorite team. I think Germany can cause them problems. I think Germany could be victorious, but it would be against the odds.
Let's see how all of that plays out. Lots of great football still to come, and lots of great football chat still to come on this very long AFTN Soccer Show, because we've saved the best to last. We're going to talk Copa in the next part, Canada, some of the other games, and we're also going to hear the head coach, Jesse Marsch. We'll be back with that after this.
Hi guys, it's Rishi. You're listening to AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM, brought to you in partnership by recoveryfamilylaw.ca. Based out of Surrey, check them out for all your family legal needs. And kicking off this part, I've been wanting to play this for a few weeks. We've just had other things to play or whatever, but it's perennial favourites here. Russian band Ice Peak with their last single, Hate. Beautiful stuff. Some really good stuff come out from them this year. Where will they feature in our Festive 15 this time around after taking the top spot back in 2022? Can check that out. They've got a new album coming out as well, so looking forward to that. But I thought Hate was a good song to play for this part because, unfortunately, some of the Canadian players have been receiving a lot of online hate. Started with Moise Bombito, most recently Kyle Larin and Richie Larea. Horrible racial abuse that they've had online. And it's still just, we've spoken about this before in the show. It just baffles me that this still exists in this day and age. But I messaged you during the Canada-Chile game and I said, after the incident with Richie Larea, I said, I guarantee you he's going to be getting racial abuse online after that. It's just so predictable.
Yeah, sadly.
And so sad.
Yeah. We talked earlier about how this is a different type of football.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a Canadian coach, if I'm Jesse Marsch, I'm thankful to have players like Richie Larea and Alistair Johnson and a few others who are like up for this and won't succumb to any of the wiles of this different type of football, and can also get stuck in and to this point haven't crossed the line and haven't been fully sucked in by some of the antics. And like you said, I think the treatment that some of our black players have received is absolutely horrendous and is uncalled for. I know you and I were talking in between parts about this, and I think some of this is just an abhorrent worldview, right? This is just a horrendous way of looking at the world or treating other people or whatever, and is probably an expression of who the individuals are. I do also though wonder, as we know in football, and we know in different footballing cultures, that this is viewed in different ways. And I'm in no way excusing the behavior. And I don't think we talked about this maybe last time with Bombito, I can't remember, but there are football cultures around the world where opposing fans will say anything to get an opponent off their game, including making unarguably offensive racist comments just in order to distract them from the game.
And they don't think it's wrong. They don't see anything.
They think it's a form of gamesmanship. And again, I say that in no way to justify.
We just want to stress here we are not.
But there are some people who view sporting events that way, and I think it's incredibly sad that they would, and sad that they choose to make such comments to try and denigrate someone based on their race. Which it's just horrible.
Well, Jesse Marsch had a impromptu press conference on Sunday, and that was one of the things he was asked about. Here's what he had to say about it.
Unfortunately, these guys have dealt with this before, and it's ridiculous, so they've become a little bit more hardened by it, and they handle it really well, and they take the high road, which I commend them for, because I don't know what it would be like to go through what they go through. I just try to support them in every way. But it's just ridiculous and disgusting, and why anyone would choose to, listen, social media is a cesspool anyway. But when you start adding racist comments, like, you're just revealing yourself as such a poor level of low character and no concept of what it is to be part of a community or be with people or understand how differences can make us better. And so for me, it's disgusting. And all I can do is try to support the team and the players. but they're so strong. They support each other so well. I mean, I'm proud to be their coach when it comes to this. I mean, in really every way, but when it comes to how they handle these difficult moments, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. But they're of such high character. They're really fantastic human beings. That's all I can say.
So great words there from Jesse Marsch. Very much paraphrasing, but it's like, what kind of mindset do these Neanderthals have? It says a lot about them and what's wrong with their life, and just, I don't know. It's like we're in 2024. It's a multicultural society in most countries in the world. You look at teams at Copa, it's multicultural, it's multi-race. And you've still got fans of those teams that have black players on their team abusing black players on the other team.
Mm-hmm.
And it blows my mind that this still goes on. And of course, like in CONCACAF, we've got the whole thing that's been going on with Mexico and their chant towards goalkeepers.
Is that reared its ugly head at this tournament?
Tonight
in the
game.
Draw?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
In the closing minutes again. Now this is a trend. Dying minutes of the game or stoppage time, the fans do it because we've talked about this before. Games have been stopped, and then when it's started, Mexico get a goal because we saw it against Canada.
Yeah.
And there was some tannoy announcements in Spanish, but I'm assuming it was for that. And I'm thinking they're trying to do this again. They're trying to get the game temporarily stopped so that Mexico can regroup.
Yeah.
Because they were desperate to get this goal to get them to go through. But this time it didn't get stopped.
And they are eliminated from the tournament.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I mean, you've got all this stuff going on. But we don't want to talk about the bad stuff. We want to talk about the good stuff. And of course, we want to talk about Canada. Historic moment for them. Getting through the group stages, as I joked about in the last part, this is alien to me. A team I'm cheering on getting through the group stages of a big multi-continental tournament. I'm not counting the Gold Cup.
No, but the Gold Cup, Michael, is the.
I know it's our
regional
tournament, but it's not as hard to get through the group if you're Canada in the Gold Cup.
That's not an unreasonable statement.
Yeah.
I just think we need to give, I think as fans, as media, as administrators of the game, we need to give more respect to the Gold Cup.
I do agree with you there, yeah.
I think part of that could be from maybe playing it every 4 years as opposed to every 2 years. That would definitely go a long way. Even though I don't totally disagree with the developmental nature that they've taken or that they took for a while of every other year, the Confederations Cup, which no longer exists. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I do think we need to, and I saw some people talking about this maybe somewhere on social media talking about, we do need to have a higher respect for it, not simply because Canada won it once, but because it is a continental championship. So in one sense, it's on level with Copa, with the Euro, with the African Cup of Nations, and the Asian Cup. And is there an Oceania Cup? I think there is, right? Mm-hmm. There's some tournament. I can't remember what the actual name is, but it's on par with those things for our region. So but you're right. Copa America is more prestigious, and I think also the fact that it's the Copa America, and on this occasion it's bringing together the Americas. Is kind of nice and even more prestigious and more meaningful. But none of that to take away from this massive achievement for Canada. The win against Peru is huge. The draw against Chile is huge, and more so than both those things, advancing from the group stage is huge historically. But as we've talked about all along, it is so significant for Jesse Marsch and these players to gain this type of experience prior to being a three-way co-host for the World Cup in 2026.
Because you're playing top nations, you're playing nations that will be at the World Cup, and you're playing a different style of football.
Yeah.
As we've talked about, a very different style of football at times. And I think the most pleasing aspect in all of this, outside of obviously getting through the group, is they've held their own.
Yeah.
Like, I know they were under the cosh a bit against Argentina, and Max stood in his head with some fantastic saves. Still a fantastic result, and you held them goalless in the first half. And then the second game, the win over Peru, that it was a nervy game, but I feel they deserved that. Jonathan David's goal, 74th minute,
Beautiful
historic
goal.
1-0 victory, and a fantastic way
Yeah.
great goal, fantastic way to achieve it.
And then same against Chile. To hold the Chileans at bay, I think it is huge to get that point to secure the qualification. I know there will be other people who will look at the glass half empty side of things and say, well, yeah, Canada was playing against 10 men in both games for a significant period of time.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
But Canada was only playing against 10 men because of the style of football played by Peru and Chile, right? Like, and Peru unarguably should have been playing with 9 men,
Yes.
Absolutely should have been playing with 9 men. Anyway, so the fact those numerical advantages were extremely legitimate advantages within the laws of the game. And so you can say, oh yeah, they were playing as lesser opponents number wise, but I think those advantages were earned within the course of the game. Also on the glass half empty side, something you and I have talked about, we talked about on the last show, it's one goal in these 3 games. 1 goal in 6 overall games. Now there's been a lot of clean sheets in there, or a lot of clean sheet halves.
Yeah. Is it 6 games? It's five games, isn't it?
Oh, 600. Oh, no, it's 5. You're right.
Yeah.
5.
Holland, France, Argentina, Peru, Chile. Yes, so 5 games. So there's been 8 of the 10 halves, 80%
clean
sheets, and 3 full games with clean sheets. And one of those was against France, and the other ones were against good South American opposition. So, I mean, a lot of positives to take from this. And like, just going back to that Peru game, and we've briefly mentioned it a couple of times in the show, but that headbutt that baffled you and me completely as to why, like, for Alistair Johnson, that's just a Glasgow kiss. He's used to stuff like that. But I was down in the US watching it, and Dr. Joe on Fox was like, yeah, the way that they look at it is if there's not any force in it, it's not deemed an offense. And I'm like,
how can
a headbutt's a headbutt?
Headbutt's a headbutt. And how can you watch that and not say there's force involved?
Because Alistair goes back. Like, if you just put your head into someone, yeah, fair enough, that's not a headbutt. You're just touching head slightly.
No, but there's actual movement.
Yeah, he moved his head back.
Yeah. It's that I was extremely disappointed when you told me that that's what Dr. Joe said. I lost a lot of faith in Dr. Joe that day.
But it is slightly different rules. You do get away with a little bit more. Peru deserved to go down to 10. Chile deserved to go down to 10.
Have you a couple of things about these games? Both the Argentine coach and the Chilean coach both got suspended for 2 games in a row, bringing their players out late.
Yes, because that was disgraceful for the Argentina-Canada game. Totally. How long Canada were on the pitch for. I don't understand how they're able to do it, because don't the referees knock on the doors and say, okay, you're out?
No,
why is the referee not going, come on?
Typically there's a clock and the game starts. It's like the TV thing, right? Which is, I think, partly why Commonwealth would be choked, because it messes up the broadcasters. If you go, it's 15 minutes. The broadcasters know that, so they plan for that. If you then take another 5 or 10 minutes, well, then you have their guys vamping on air, and they're all going, like, what's going on? What are we supposed to say? Let's talk about what the coach had for dinner. Like, there's all, and it messes up the broadcast is then 10 minutes longer. And it's not because of stoppage time, right?
I think I'm going the old fashioned way in Scotland, where the referee would knock on the door and go, come on, lads, it's time to get back out.
Yeah. Well, the simple way around is you just start the game. You're not there.
How good would that be?
That'd be brilliant. Would they ever do it again?
Scotland still wouldn't score, but I mean, That's a whole other issue. We
That
did play a
doesn't.
game once. I think it was in Estonia, and they didn't turn up, but we still had to kick off. And we just kicked off, and then we won the game 3-0
We,
forfeit.
I really wish. You and I talked about this. There's no zooming in to these post-match press conferences.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
in person.
when that Peruvian coach was talking about
Oh,
how,
fighting.
yeah, about
Yes.
how the Canadian players were grabbing his players' jerseys and blah blah blah. I really wish someone in that room would have been like, and can you explain the headbutt and the red card that you received and how that's an appropriate
But
response?
in the build up to the game, he was
I know.
talking about we will fight them, and
No, I
it's like
know.
they're hard and they're
Well,
dirty, and it's like,
well, that's what I tweeted about, right?
mhm.
So my tweet was like, should it be shocking that players whose coaches say we will use our fist then go out and use their head in a violent manner, right? Nothing should be shocking about this.
No.
The crazy thing, then I don't know if you've seen after the Chile game what happened. Did you see
Yeah. Well, if it might be the same thing, but
where the Chilean Federation complained about the refereeing?
yeah, because they
In
said
all three games,
basically
not
he's
just the
got it
Canada
in
game.
for us.
Yeah, not just the Canada game, all three games.
Oh, I thought
I
it was
think
just the Canada game.
No,
I thought it was just the
what
Colombian guy, Roldan.
no, what I read is I thought it was they complained in all three games they felt the officiating was against them.
Oh, well,
And
they
then
might have said that, but the thing I specifically read was he said this referee has had it against us for a while,
Oh, okay.
and like
Maybe.
World Cup qualifying and stuff.
And then I saw like a meme about it saying like they're like Chile is complaining to CONMEBOL that for all three matches they were like mistreated or whatever by the officials or whatever. And then it was like the meme was like CONMEBOL has sent a complaint to the Chilean Federation for scoring 0 goals in 270.
I mean, we talked about this in our preview show. I said they're struggling to score at the moment.
Yeah,
They played really well against Argentina,
they did.
and they were unlucky not to come away with a point in that. But like talking to the refs, I don't know if you saw this, but going into the Mexico-Ecuador game, Ecuador were a little bit concerned that it was a CONCACAF ref,
Oh yeah.
but the first 8 fouls in the game went against Mexico.
Oh man, it is the irony of these complaints is
Yeah. What I will say though is I do feel the referee lost the plot a bit in that
Canada
Chile game.
Yeah, totally.
We've seen some really strong refs, and we've seen some refs that I'm thinking. Now, I'll say it cannot be easy to referee some
Exactly.
of these teams.
Oh, totally. That's what I was
But
going to say to you, Michael.
some of them just lose it so quickly, they've just lost control of the game.
How do you maintain control when it's
Yeah.
so chaotic and so like there's so much thuggery going on all over
Just
the place?
bring the cards out early and it soon stops when you're down to like 7v7.
Yeah, there you go. And then it's a tournament in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to be proud of our Canadians. I really hope we now know we're playing Venezuela, right?
Venezuela, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Venezuela is actually it was undefeated, right?
yeah, Venezuela, 3 out of 3 wins, top of their group.
I saw their game. I saw
Punching
their
above their weight as well.
Yeah, I saw their game against Paraguay where they was it Paraguay? No, it was their opening game against Ecuador where Ecuador went down a man, then went up a goal, and then Venezuela came back to score to win 2-1. And they looked pretty good in that context. But that was the game I think where Ener Valencia got sent off for Ecuador, which I think was the same referee in the Canada-Chile game, if I'm not mistaken. But
yes, it was.
Yeah. So Venezuela will, even though I think some people, well, I've heard a couple of things. I think some people are like, oh, look, Venezuela is much easier than Ecuador, so it should be better for us, for Canada. And I've heard others say, oh, I wish we were playing Ecuador because they have a higher FIFA ranking and we have the potential to get more FIFA ranking points if we beat them. But I think and I trust Jesse Marsch and his staff to not underestimate the Venezuelans or the occasion.
Yeah.
And but I believe that if Canada plays the way they have in all 3 matches, that they have a really good chance at advancing.
I think they do as well.
And like you said, if they do, then they got 2 more games.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they wanted from this competition was as many games as possible.
Mm-hmm. And it means we miss Ali for a couple more games, but it means our
Right.
opponents are down a lot more players, so that's good. But like Venezuela are actually, if you put any stock in the FIFA rankings, 6 places below Canada.
Yeah.
So technically, Canada's going into this as a favorite.
Yeah, let's slow roll that, Michael.
Yeah, Ecuador's 30th in the
let's
rankings, and
let's dial that
Venezuela
back.
saw off Ecuador. Now, Venezuela are currently sitting 4th in their World Cup qualifying group. They've drawn away with Brazil. They've beaten Chile and Paraguay, and they've drawn with Ecuador and Peru. So they've only lost one of their first 6 games. You can't say it's a golden age of players because I don't know enough about them, but they've got some really good veterans. Salomon Rondon is probably your key guy. He's got 2 goals this tournament already. 34 years old. He's got a couple of goals in the World Cup qualifying for them as well. Then you've got Edward Bello. Both those guys play their club soccer in Mexico as well. Rondon with Pachuca and Bello with Mazatlan. At least I think that's the team and not the restaurant chain. But either way, he's a good goal scorer for whoever he plays with. But they're their 2 big threats. And Canada just have to find a way to score.
Yeah.
Like defensively, what Jesse Marsch has done to this team, the form of Max Crepeau, who had a few important stops in the closing minutes of that Chile game.
Yeah.
I really thought Chile were going to sneak a winner at the death.
Yeah.
They were really pushing hard. I thought we were sitting back a little bit too much like Slovakia against England, but we saw it out. And that's the other thing as well. Our mentality to see these games out has been tremendous as well. So many positives in this tournament.
Totally. Most people will remember Rondon from his time in the Premier League. I remember back when he used to watch West Brom. I remember at West Brom, and he went on loan to Newcastle, and then he's played at Everton. And so yeah,
I think he's played in Spain and Russia and stuff as well.
He has, yeah. So he will definitely be a handful.
Yeah, but our clean sheet record should cause a bit of fear. But we're going up against a team that can score, and there's a good chance they might take the lead in this one. Interestingly, every single goal that they've scored at Copa this year, Venezuela, has come in the second half. So they're very much a second half team. They're going to turn it on in the second half. If we can sneak a goal in the first half, it's going to make things interesting. I hate to say this. I'm confident that we'll at least make a very good game of it. And I do fancy us to go through.
I'm with you.
I hate to say that because it just feels like we're just getting ahead of ourselves.
It's hard not to in a moment like this, but as long as the coaches and players can block all that out and plan accordingly, I have a lot of confidence in them.
Well, let's hear a little bit more from Jesse Marsch. I got a chance to ask him about the physicality that his team have faced and how well they've handled it, and some other questions from like John Molinaro and Joshua Cloak just about the team's performance so far. Here's the gaffer.
When you look at the last 3 games in the group stage, in terms of biggest growth opportunities for Canada going forward, what would you say those are?
You mean like sort of what I feel like we've learned the most? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, that, and where, in what areas would you like to see the team maybe improve as well, or need sharpening up?
Improvements. Okay. Yeah, look, I think we can improve in almost everything. So, but I think the tactical clarity in these matches has been really good. The guys have, even in hot circumstances, I think been disciplined and focused for what we want to do. Defensively, we've obviously been stingy and not given a lot away. And from the Argentina game to the Chile game, I think we made improvements in terms of, not not letting players run free through our back line onto our goalie. That part's gotten better. I think the discipline to keep track of everything defensively. Yeah, and then clearly, we feel like we can be better around the goal. We can, convert some of these half chances into big chances and some of our big chances into goals. But if you followed my career, when I tried to get my teams to play the kind of football that I like, the goals are usually come a lot easier and a lot more often. And usually we're fighting to keep clean sheets and prevent ourselves from giving up big chances. So it's actually a little bit nice that we're more stable defensively. And I know with our offensive power that we're going to create chances and the goals are going to start to come. And then the other area is set pieces. I think we can be better in attacking set pieces, better services, better runs, and better, winning of duels in the box. But overall, I'm really pleased with the group in so many ways.
Have you gotten a sense over the last 24 hours, I guess, of what this result, what moving out of the group stage means to Canadian soccer? Probably not fully. I've gotten a lot of texts and positive notes from people. And I recognize that it's a big accomplishment and an accomplishment that wasn't going to be easy. I hope that back home people are inspired by the team. I think to really inspire them, we need to have more big moments where we find more goals, where we have real moments to celebrate, and that will come. But we know that we've been really focused on just how to continue on in this tournament. We're enjoying our time together. I think that the group has really grown over time. I think that the tactical nuances and sophistication has grown, and it's given us a chance to be successful. So, and whoever our opponent is next, we know it won't be easy. It'll be a big task. We'll be very focused on watching these games tonight. But I think there's real confidence in the group and real belief that we can keep pushing in this tournament and that we're not done yet. So even with training today, just trying to every day push this thing as much as we can so that we can get better and better.
Have you been pleased with how your guys have handled the physicality of the tournament so far? Watching on from afar, just the tournament in general, the physicality has been very, very high, and it kind of feels it's only going to ramp up a little bit as the tournament goes on.
Again, you guys have all heard me talk about this, but when we got together for the European portion, we talked a lot about how we were going to transform things tactically, and then we wanted to continue that tactical evolution, but also really understand that what playing South American opponents is like, and the physicality and the savviness and the gamesmanship, all these things that we couldn't be naive, that we had to, I think, stay disciplined, but also understand how to handle referees, handle opponents, win duels, and with all of it without crossing the line. So I think that that's benefited us for sure.
So some thoughts from Jesse Marsch there. And I mean, that was done before he knew whether it was Venezuela or Ecuador. Mm-hmm. But whoever it is, he's going to have them ready. He's not going to underestimate them. And he's got a lot of days to get prepared for this one as well. I think it's been good that they managed to negotiate so many players on a yellow card in that last game to come through unscathed, not get any sendings off, because it would have been very easy for one of them to react to something or be provoked or just a mistimed tackle and it was a red card. Because you had your back four all in yellow cards towards the end of that Chile game. And the mentality to see that out was great. And we've seen other teams lose their heads. Let's get to the US, because Mexico already out. Because you haven't seen that Mexico game yet. Yeah. Mexico had the bit of the possession, but without having any real shots. I think it was the 65th minute before they got their first shot on goal. and it was an easy save for the goalkeeper.
Mm.
They ramped it up a bit towards the end, but Ecuador were in control and playing in very nice kits that resembled the Whitecaps one with the blue half hoop. So I quite liked that. But yeah, Mexico deserved what they got over the matches. I'd watched their defeat to Venezuela with joy down in my house that I'd rented down the Oregon coast. So they're out. And the US, by the time folk listen to this, could also be out. I can't see them beating Uruguay.
I hope so. I hope Uruguay doesn't take it easy on them.
Oh,
And then,
the meltdown on social media and also on the panel after they went down to that loss to Panama. Oh, fantastic. But that was an amazing game.
it was. I watched the whole thing after, even though I knew what happened.
Yeah, because I had said to you, oh, you're watching this.
Yeah.
It was batshit crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And the sending off was just ridiculous.
Sorry, which one?
Oh, sorry. Way is sending off.
Tim Weah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that the first angle you see is from so far away, like, oh yeah, I think that's probably not great. He kind of gets, and then you like see it closer up, and you're like, oh, that's pretty awful.
Yeah, it's like a complete swing at him.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous to do that and to think you're going to get away with it.
Yeah, I don't understand
in the VAR era.
It must have been the red mist or whatever, but yeah, like in this, like you said, this era of the game, there's multiple cameras watching you. You cannot do something that is that or that even can resemble that, like that, the contact and the intent
But the craziness, like even before that, so the US had the goal disallowed,
rightly so.
Rightly, Matt Turner gets cleaned out and then goes off at the half.
That was only a yellow, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't a red card to me.
I don't think it was either. And I think he had every right to go for that. I don't even think it was a yellow. I genuinely think he had every right to go for it.
Well, in Scotland, I'm sure it's not.
Yeah. And it wasn't Tristan Blackman. It was a different Blackman.
Oh, yeah. They got the equalizer?
Yeah, because then he scored.
He scored, yeah.
Yeah, but then the US take the lead with 10 men. And then Canada a couple of minutes.
Goal.
Oh, it was, yeah.
I forgot to check it up. Where did that guy come from? Balogun?
He is a New Yorker. He's been playing over in England. He came through with Arsenal, and then he's with Monaco just now.
Oh, he's not Monaco. But how many caps does he have?
For the US, 14. I say for the US because he was capped. I've just got his Wikipedia page up. Capped under 17 England.
Right.
Under 18 US and England, under 20 England, under 21 England, and then made the change to the US.
Okay, but he is American born. Okay.
Yeah, Brooklyn. That was a beautiful finish.
Incredible strike off the post. The exact kind of response that Mr. Berhalter would have wanted from his players after going down a man.
Mm-hmm.
And for the moment, because it only lasted a moment or two, you thought, okay, the U.S. team, they've got that swagger about them. They don't care. They're down a man. They're going to keep fighting, keep battling. Maybe they can pull this off. And then how many minutes later was it? Like a handful? Four. Yeah. It was like, okay.
I said as well in last week's show that I fancied Panama to beat them.
It was this game, the flavor wasn't different than it wasn't crazy different from a lot of the South American games, but it definitely did have this CONCACAF vibe to it. And
they had an El Salvador ref as well, so the CONCACAF ref as well. So they can't even blame the officials or anything because it's like officials that they're kind of used to. But yeah, the US just disappointed. I heard Greg Berhalter, a snippet from his press conference today where he said, hey, our knockout game comes now. It's come 5 days early. We're ready for it. And that's how you have to approach it, really.
True.
But if you want to go deep in this tournament, you have to be beating teams like Uruguay. But it's been an enjoyable tournament as well. And I got to see a lot more if it was down in the US than here when I've come back and I'm scrabbling to find highlights and stuff or other streams. But it's been good. Last thing I want to talk about with it, though, is the crowds. They've not been great at some of the stadiums, numbers wise.
That's because they're charging like crazy money.
That's what I was going to say. It's like the prices for the Canada Argentina game were obscene. They've been a bit better for the Chile Peru games. I haven't priced out what it's going to be
But
against Venezuela, but
I mean, when you have Argentina playing, you can fill the place even with
yeah.
crazy. But like, was the Canada Peru game was in Sporting Kansas City's ground, and it was so not full, right? Like,
Well,
there's big patches that were empty.
but now you've got from an organizer's point of view, and obviously we don't care, but from the organizer's point of view and TV point of view, you've got the fact that Mexico and the US could both be out.
Yeah.
The interest's not going to be there in the same way. Your ticket sales are not going to be there in the same way.
Brazil will still a draw, right? I saw. Do you see Mark?
Yeah, there was some empty seats though at the Brazil game the other night. Is there concern at some of these numbers for 2026? Because it's still going to be high prices for then. And obviously the World Cup has higher cachet than Copa America and a lot more interest. This is a problem with having a tournament like Copa in America. So you're relying on a lot of American-based expats to come along. But a lot of those people are working in lower paid jobs. So they can't afford the tickets. So it's a catch-22 kind of situation. And it's also it's for fans from the countries, it's very expensive to travel to the US. Some of them will struggle to get maybe visas as well for travel. So I don't know, will it be better for the World Cup, or is this a warning sign that you can't price these games too high because you just will not fill the stadiums?
I have a screenshot from the bid book for the World Cup.
Oh,
part of this is there's unknowns here, Michael, because starting with South Africa 2010, the World Cup has primarily 4 categories, right? Categories 1 to 4, 4 being the cheapest, 1 being the most expensive. So 1 is like midfield, the 4 is the ends. You got 3s is sort of like 3s is sort of like the corners. 2s are kind of between those, whatever, right? And then you also have what is this business, skybox, special, but there's wheelchair accessible and special needs accessible and special needs accompaniment and all this stuff. But in 2010, for the South Africa World Cup, it was the first time ever where they said, and I think from my understanding, it was this, they carried that forward to Brazil, they carried it forward to Russia, they carried it forward absolutely in Doha. Only locals had access to category 4. So only locals had access to the cheapest tickets. Now, will they do that for this one in North America? That's yet to be decided or announced. If they do it, the other quagmires, if they do that, is it like the games that are in Mexico, only Mexicans or only Mexican residents can gain access to category 4 or whatever? And then how do they police all that? There's all kinds of different things, right? So here, I'll just read to you. So they have the categories: that opening game, group game, round of 32, round of 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, third place, final. So how about I just give you the category 4s? Is that okay? That'll be simplest. So category 4, by the way, this is in USD. Opening match, $60. Group matches, $21. Round of 32, $31. Round of 16, $42. Quarterfinals, $66. Semifinal, $84. Third place, $66. And final, $128. Now, this is from the bid book. This is not finalized. They can augment this. They can change this. They can put, like I said, all kinds of rules on it. And those are the cheapest. The most expensive, ticket face value for the final in the bid book is $1,550 for category 1. To put that in perspective, though, I will say this. I bought at the ticket window before the match, I bought a Champions League final category 1 ticket for 360 euros. Now, the World Cup and the Champions League final, the different kettle of fish. But you and I know you heard that $21. You're like, that sounds very reasonable for group matches in category 4. I will say, though, that for some of my European friends, even that sounds more expensive than it should be. My friends who have, whatever, 10 to 15 euro season tickets for their local football clubs that are owned by members. So anyways, that's maybe the ballpark you could look at things being in. But will they hold to that? Won't they? Will they? I mean, there's also most people who've gone to these before or tried to go to these before know that you can also get tickets for like follow your country. where you're guaranteed, like basically you get like a follow your country
Yeah.
7 games, or in this case 8 games, where you're guaranteed to go to you have a ticket for the final, even if your team doesn't get there, right? Because once your team's eliminated, you get allocated to the different games into the final. You have some, I think they created an option where it's follow your team until they're eliminated. So there's all kinds of different things around this, and this will all get fleshed out by FIFA and how they're going to do this. I hope, for the sake of fees and stuff. I don't know the camera the previous ones, but I know in Doha, FIFA ran the ticketing themselves. So as opposed to saying, "Hey, we're going to partner with Ticketmaster or ShowPass or whoever," no, FIFA said, "No, we're going to run our own ticket portal and do it ourselves." Now, I'm sure that causes them a great number of headaches and problems and frustrations and things that need to get worked through. But I hope that for the fans in North America, they'll choose to go that route again to avoid things like crazy ticket fees on Ticketmaster. They also run it where you can resell your ticket, right? So in Doha, you could resell your ticket. Like you're like, I can't go. You can put it up on their site, and you lose like 5 or 10% of what you pay.
I think it was like that in the Olympics as well.
Yeah, but at least then it's getting sold and whatever. And obviously lots of people sold on StubHub and all that kind of stuff. Then there was issues, right? Because sometimes people are selling things illegitimately on those sources, and had people buy it on StubHub and then not get a ticket, and then or the ticket sent to them after the game, or all these different crazy things happen. But anyways, that is going to be really, really interesting, because obviously we all know when the World Cup was announced in Canada, and we all know when it was confirmed it was going to be in Vancouver, and we all know when it was like, okay, Canada's playing here. We all have friends. Everyone, I bet you every single person listening to this that's in Canada has had people come to say, "How and when do I get World Cup tickets? Can you help me get World Cup tickets? Like, how many can we get? Oh, how many games can we go to? Or what, all that kind of stuff." I know you've had it. I've had it, like, lots, right? People who don't follow football, they're like, "I want to go to the World Cup."
While you were talking there, I had a quick look at the ticket prices for Venezuela and Canada.
Yeah.
Which, incidentally, there's a lot of tickets still available. The cheapest ticket is 169, of which there is not many. And then the most expensive for just a kind of normal ticket that's not like just a crazy one is 799.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, actually, a lot of these I've just realized are resale tickets.
That's the problem you have to worry about with different sites, even like Ticketmaster itself, right? It'll allow you to resell a ticket for more than what you paid for it.
Yeah, no, I just said, oh, there's tons of tickets available. It's all the resale tickets because folk aren't wanting to watch Venezuela, Canada.
Exactly.
Oh.
So there's a lot of people who will have taken a bath on this tournament because they thought, oh, I can sell, and they would have thought that they would have gambled, okay, that's going to be Chile coming out, or maybe Peru, but
yeah,
most likely would have gambled. It's going to be Chile versus Ecuador, right? That's probably what they would have been betting for.
Yeah.
And it's exactly not that, which of course people like you and I say, we hope you take a bath on that, that if all you were doing was trying to make money. Yeah, the resale stuff is where things get interesting.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, where I hope they don't go with a Ticketmaster, because the one good thing that they've safeguarded with doing what they did in Doha, and I can't remember if they did it for previous tournaments, is that they then control the pricing. So there's no like, oh yeah, you paid $200 to go to this game. You can't go, don't want to go, whatever. Now it's not like $1,000 ticket. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you can resell it, and we want someone to buy it for $200. They keep that 10%. So they are making money off of you reselling it, but it's a little bit more reasonable than most of the resale situations you'll find out there.
Certain cities as well for the World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on what team's in it.
Totally.
Like even here, although there's a demand, if there's very unfashionable teams outside of Canada.
Well, that's how, Michael. Those are the game most part. That's how I went to games in Germany 2006.
There'll be folk that want to do that.
Yeah, I didn't get any in any of the
draws.
I didn't get any on any of the draws. I didn't get any I wanted. It was literally buying single or pairs tickets reposted for resale. So I was thinking about this the other day, I was talking to my wife about this, said, wait, which stadiums, because over half the stadiums that are in this Euro were part of the World Cup, right? So I remember saying, like, oh yeah, which stadiums did you go to? Because in 2006, I went to 9 games. My wife went to 4 games. She went to Ukraine versus Saudi Arabia. She went to Ukraine versus Tunisia. She went to the Central Stadium. She went to Iran versus Angola, right? Now, the fourth game in Stuttgart ended up not being the worst occasion. It could have been better. But they were the first tickets we got for the whole tournament. They were the third place game, which ended up being Germany beating Portugal 3-1. So as sad as it was that Germany wasn't in the final, we got to go
you were delighted.
go and see them crush Portugal and say farewell to Luis Figo's international career and Oliver Kahn's international career and Bastian Schweinsteiger essentially scoring a hat trick. It was quite nice. But anyways, that's one of the things that it's going to be interesting to see how FIFA handles that.
Well, let us know if you think that the Copa crowds might be indicative of what's to come in 2026. That is pretty much it for the show. It has been a long one, so we'll wrap things up. We won't do too much more at the end. I was going to talk a little bit about VFC winning in Pacific, so we'll just say well done to them. 4 straight derby wins in a row.
So good. So
you went at the game. Oh, yeah. Our good friend Elage, I was so delighted for him.
Yeah, I got to talk to him in the post game. I just said we talked to you preseason, and you came in with this with like an amazing attitude, and you've just been battling and fighting for your minutes. Like, talk about the journey that has been for you, kind of thing. And he was just like, he's like, I came in and knew that I just needed to work and I needed to learn. And so coach has taught me. Caden's been so good with me, blah, 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 on and on.
I'll have to listen to that.
Yeah, dig that out. His answer is better than the question, but it was really, he was great and was really, obviously really, really happy for him. Yeah. I got stuck at the passport office in Surrey. Oh man. We were over there for like over 4.5 hours, and
wow,
I feel really bad to have missed out on another away game, and especially an away win at Pacific. But I don't matter. What matters is we got the result, and those who traveled got to experience another great one. And I'm really happy for the players. And yeah, now there's a kind of a bit of a couple games on the road that are massive, and as long as WestJet doesn't cause me problems, I'll be at the game.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. My wife's been, as we've been recording, my wife's been sending me updates like the strike is over, but they've canceled like all flights in the next 12 hours. And they're saying, hey, because of the work stoppage, things are going to be slow because we got to check all the planes or whatever and stuff. And so I keep checking. So we're supposed to fly very soon. So we'll see what happens. But hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll bring you some audio from Hamilton.
Cool. Any other final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Find me on X at Zachary AM.
It's 2:21 in the morning. Yeah. This is the kind of time that we record these podcasts. We logged in at 10 o'clock.
I was going to say, this has been almost as long as my wait at the
yeah. We should have done a podcast while you were there. But yeah, give us a follow, of course, AFTN Canada on Twitter, AFTN Canada on YouTube, AFTN Soccer on Instagram. And if you're not a subscriber already, subscribe to our extra podcast, a donation to AFTN, $30 a year, $3 a month. Another one of those coming up very soon. Until then, as always, thank you for listening. Hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been a long one, but there's been a lot of good chat. And until next time, thanks for listening. Take care. Mon the Caps. And allez, le rouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.